you're a Delhiite, Dhruv, you will be like, man, this is not how Delhi people are, because that was my first inkling when I saw the
But I mean, I'm not going in expecting that, honestly.
But that's what I dislike. There is an
Okay.
inherent
You've read the
dishonesty to
book
that.
also, no? So
No, but the thing is that Bombay people have this impression that all Delhi people are loud. I'm like, you'll find some of the most soft-spoken,
मुझसे बात करवाओ.
well-informed people of this country living in Delhi.
Yeah.
बॉम्बे में फ्लफ रहता है देश का, ठीक है. बॉम्बे में नो इंटेलेक्चुअल लिव्स अपार्ट
Yeah.
फ्रॉम नसीरुद्दीन शाह, who is hardly an intellectual.
उसकी वाइफ तो है.
Neither of them are particularly intellectual. They are-
Bombay में, I mean, relatively they are compared to the people who
हाँ.
live there, relatively they are.
When the benchmark is Salman Khan,
I mean, Shah Rukh Khan is also kinda an
हाँ,
intellectual.
डॉक्टर भी तो है
he's a
सर.
pseudo intellectual.
Yeah, जो भी
ये
है.
सब नहीं जाएगा, हाँ, एपिसोड.
मेरी
बंद हो
नौकरी
जाएगा
चली
अपना
जाएगी.
podcast.
I mean, considering the fact that you have a huge bookshelf in your drawing room, that is enough to vault you to intellectual status.
Also,
In
he does
Bombay.
all this philosophizing stuff in any case. He likes doing all that. So.
पिछवाड़े से 4 शब्द निकालना मुश्किल नहीं होता है, ठीक है.
And it's also like if you are making a movie like Donkey, all your philosophizing goes out the goddamn.
हाँ, I mean, like, it's such a
Let's not
terrible
go there.
tragedy of a film.
We are looking forward to reading Varun's explainer of it. I think that's our lasting memory.
Whenever
Donkey
it comes out, which is
ये
never.
25 साल तो मेरी डंकी थी. How the hell do I make that sound like? How do you explain that movie?
Call Abhijat Joshi and ask him what are you
भोसड़ी
thinking.
के क्या कर रहा था? Say that.
फिर बाकी की सारी गालियां दूसरी पिक्चरों के लिए भी दे दो ना. Anyways, so I think that's, I don't know how much of this is going to stay in the podcast. Anyways, no, I want this
Remove
to
the
stay.
cursing. My parents might listen to it.
Up your ass, Joni. You've had your teeth in this family's tit for a long time.
Up your ass? Oh, very nice.
Matter of fact,
God,
eat shit.
What?
How's that?
Little shit.
In fact,
Do not use that word in front of my son.
eat shit.
If
I Eat wasn't shit.
practicing,
Eat shit.
I would slap that smug smile.
Definitely eat shit. Eat shit. We can all eat shit.
All the slander has been put aside since today we are talking about two movies we really like to some extent. Varun is, of course, slightly down on one of them, I mean, that's par for course. You have to expect that now.
Yeah.
If you've been listening to us for the recent
Varun is the
half a
grouch.
year.
Varun is the grouch. I am the cursor. That's the whole,
And I am the editor.
Dhruv is Maryada Purushottam Ram.
Sir, अगर आप लोग relatively बात कर रहे हो, then yes.
Yes.
But
then
anyways,
what does that make Sanjeet and Aryan?
I don't know. वो तो उनको
Sanjeet is Bhagwan. Sanjeet is Bhagwan. कभी आते हैं, कभी जाते हैं.
Bhagwan is ever present, sir.
हाँ तो उनका
वो भी
influence
ever
ever
present ही
present है
है.
ना.
वो भी ever present ही है.
We should just have photos of Sanjeet.
Live stream पे करूंगा ये. We'll do a missing, huh? And then search warrant essentially, and then we can find him. Anyways, we are
Lapata.
Lapata podcasters. That's a movie.
Or Lapata laddies.
Laddies.
Starring Salman Khan, of course, directed by Kiran Rao. Anyways, today
भाई
so
ट्वीट पे कौन लिखता है किरण कब काम करोगी मेरे साथ मैं क्या है भाई
सर वो तो फिर भी लिख सकते हो बट ये तो फैक्ट्स तो ठीक लिखो कि उसकी डेब्यू पिक्चर भी है.
I mean, let's be fair to Salman, though. That was so long ago.
Still यार, if you're writing that tweet out, you have to, especially if you're writing कि काम करना है debut.
He does not write his tweets.
Dhobi Ghat came a year after Dabang. During that time, Salman Khan at his high, Salman Khan also at his lows. ये उसके बाद का scene है.
Anyways, we are done with our chatter and whatever stuff. Hello. Welcome to today's podcast, which is me essentially substituting for the Jonathan Glazer podcast. And I'm very thankful to Varun and Amartya for obliging and helping me find this substitute episode. And I think it's a great substitute episode simply because I got the opportunity to see two films which I hadn't, and both of them are very good on many levels. And I think it's a great lead-in to the live stream that we're going to do on Monday for a movie which both Varun and Amartya have seen already, and I haven't. It's called Murder Mubarak by Homi Adajania, and it's written by someone else, right? It's not written by
Yeah,
him.
written by Supratim Sengupta and Ghazal Taliban.
And it's based on,
A book called Club You to Death by Anuja Chauhan.
sure. So this we'll be discussing on Monday, but because it's sort of murder mystery, it's a sort of classic whodunit, positioned as that at least. We wanted to take the sort of opportunity to talk about films which are classic whodunits, which sort of serve as fairly quintessential texts for a lot of films and filmmakers who have made similar films on the genre, subgenre, I suppose, to what you would say a mystery or a thriller or whatever you would say. But
Yeah.
I think very much we avoided the temptation to go back and talk about Knives Out and Glass Onion because I think those two are very much the inspirations nowadays for a lot of films which come out as which are sort of murder mysteries and sort of follow a similar track in terms of their aesthetics, their heightened aesthetics, their playful nature. I think playful is a word that will appear or like you'll probably hear again and again in this episode. But the two films we've chosen to talk about are well, the first one is The Last of Sheila, which is a 1973 film directed by Herbert Ross and written by Anthony Bates
Psycho
Anthony
Perkins.
Perkins.
Yeah,
Anthony
Bates.
Psycho
So yeah,
Perkins.
Anthony Psycho Perkins and Stephen
Even
Sondheim.
West Side Story Sondheim. Yes.
Yes, and that's I think that was one of the few films that Rian Johnson has repeatedly cited for as inspiration for his Knives Out films. So we'll be talking about that first and sort of how that sets a template which I think sort of is followed by a lot of films of this ilk and sort of toys around with it. I think that's something which is very fun to see how filmmakers use misdirection in these films to engage us, make us detectives as some sorts. And then there's the other one where directed by Robert Altman, of course, and of course he's the one who'll make a mystery which is not so much of a mystery, but more of
Because of
something.
course.
Yeah,
Because
because
of course.
if you don't know of Robert Altman, firstly you should know because he's a fantastic, phenomenal director,
Mhm.
and he's always done films which I think take the genre and then sort of just play around with it in a way which I think undermines people's expectations and frustrates them sometimes. And I think that's a valid response someone could have for even the movie we are going to talk about, which is Gosford Park, which released in 2001 and surprisingly actually was nominated for a lot of Oscars and it
Yeah.
won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay
Best
by
Original Screenplay.
Julian Fellows, right? I think it's based
Yeah.
on the
The writer
idea.
for Downton Abbey.
Writer
Okay.
and creator.
Writer and creator of Downton Abbey. So
And
basically,
the
Very
you
much
can
gifted
take
checks.
Gosford Park as his dry run for
Sure.
Yeah.
Downton Abbey.
Got it. And I think, I mean, I think these are very interesting choices just in general because they sort of map onto Murder Mubarak, at least in terms of the milieu where these are set somewhat, just in terms of, I think the murder takes place in an upper elite society, upper class society,
Yeah.
and a lot of the filmmakers in all these films sort of use the whodunit in a way, successful or not, to sort of comment on society and like the societal critique, which is also there in Knives Out. I think which we have
Yeah.
talked about before, like the sort of eat the rich narrative is slightly there. It's definitely there in Gosford Park, but it's
Gosford Park has those narratives only.
yes, exactly, yeah. More
Yeah,
so than a murder mystery, it is actually that.
it is actually
Yeah,
that.
it's essentially a
Yeah,
drama. I mean,
yeah,
you can call it a
yeah,
comedy. I know people do.
yeah. No, like
It's
like
a
a
comedy of manners.
manners,
If
yeah, which
people
is a
have no
very
idea, we will
British.
get into what is a
Yes.
comedy of manners, but Jovio.
But but we will start with The Last of Sheila, which is directed by Herbert Ross, and it released in 1973. And its premise, and I'm of course copying this from IMDb, credit wherever it's due, I suppose, is a year after
Because IMDb
Sheila.
needs our credits at this point.
Yeah, of course.
But sorry.
Jeff Bezos is very grateful to Dhruv.
Yeah, Jeff
I,
Bezos is very grateful to us for
I
crediting
know.
him.
So, but the simple, like very I think precise plot of it is that a year after Sheila is killed by a hit and run driver, her wealthy husband invites a group of friends to spend a week on his yacht playing a scavenger hunt mystery game. The game turns out to be all too real and all too deadly.
What's the game? Well, the idea is to discover everybody's secret. Without speaking, of course. and prevent the other players from discovering yours.
And how do we do that?
Well, every day we'll park in a different port where you can discover the proof of one person's secret. I'll announce what secret it is to look for and give you a clue, which will tell you what to do and where to go on shore. Now, if you solve the clue properly, it'll lead you to where the proof is.
Suppose you announce, let's say, pyromaniac, and let's say that's my secret. Why should I bother looking for the proof?
Because when the person whose secret it is discovers the proof, I'll put a card out saying the game for that evening is over.
And those who haven't found it don't score, right?
Right. Oh, if you could direct as fast as you catch on the game, you'd never be a has-been again.
Varun, you've seen it once only.
Yeah.
I think all of us have only seen it once, right? This is
Mm.
the first time you saw it, right?
I have tried. This is the first time I have seen it. Yeah.
Sure. So I think I'll sort of just begin by saying that it's very interesting to see a murder mystery, which, I mean, of course, there's a huge influence. If you've seen the Knives Out movies, you can see how the structure, the way the mystery is structured, sort of supports the way Rian Johnson also does the whole rug pulling. Essentially, there's a mystery that happens and then it gets solved. And we are talking spoilers, so please,
Yeah.
just to clarify. And I think
Glass Onion's been out for a while.
no, we're not talking. I won't talk about spoilers of Glass Onion specifically, but I'm just saying, just in the idea
Yeah.
that you feel that by the end of the second act, the mystery is solved, but then you have 40 minutes to go. And then you're wondering what exactly are you going to do with these 40 minutes. And then there's the mystery underneath that first mystery, the whole glass onion, whatever you want to say, the peeling back of the layers and all that stuff, which happens, and you sort of discover another part of what's going on. So I think that sort of is taken from that. But I'm most interested by the fact that this is a 70s film and it's set without almost a moral voice in sight, which means it's a particularly
So basically
nasty,
70s.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Basically the
particularly
70s.
nasty murder mystery with really nasty people at the center of it.
A direct product of the counterculture
Yep.
movement, essentially. of
Mm.
the late
Absolutely.
60s.
I mean, to be fair, when child molestation is basically a minor crime for these people are nasty.
The minor crime, he's our protagonist, which is
Yes.
the weird thing.
Yes.
That's the cleanest person in this film, quote unquote, is the
Yes.
child molester director, which I think is quite something. But yeah, I think we can I'll get initial impressions from you guys, and then we can sort of dive into the mystery mechanics of the film and how it sort of uses it to talk about Hollywood a lot actually, and just elites who sort of
The elites of that
of Hollywood.
place and that bubble itself, which
Exactly.
kind of also matches with the current climate anyway. So it's like
Yep. No, so we can Amartya, you can begin, and then we can go to Varun, who's seen it a long while back, I think, right? So
no, I think what struck me is, number one, most of these murder mysteries are always inspiration from a source material or from other movies and everything. I like the fact that even though Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins are taking inspiration from a lot of things, this is the legitimately original script.
yeah.
So that in itself is a very striking thing for a whodunit.
Yeah.
That's one. The second part is, for a whodunit, there is no quote unquote outsider investigator. So there is no voice, there is no outside voice or the voice of reason who can, guide the audience through and show us the messed up lives these people have.
Basically, imagine Glass Onion without Benoit Blanc.
Basically, this is basically Glass Onion without Benoit Blanc. And the absence of that voice gives this movie a very hard edge.
Yeah.
The nastiness stems from the fact that whoever the killer is, all the people, once they learn the identity of the killer, they are not interested in letting the killer come to justice. They already know why the killer has done it, and they understand why the killer has done it.
Yeah.
To the extent that they are going to use the crime as a means to manipulate it for their own ends.
I mean, it's like what you're saying is totally.
It's very noirish in that respect also, somewhat, because it's like, okay, I mean, how much nasty can you actually get at this point? It's like, how much of your morality has gone out of the window?
End goal is to basically write a movie script and you produce a movie, which I think it ends with the clicking of sort of the typewriter and the script being readied. So
and it's also like the delusion of grandeur anyway, right? Because the director who is also investigating with the killer, he's also operating under a delusion only. Like he's Like he's thinking that he's writing, pitching for a movie and all of that, but at the end of
Yeah.
the day, you don't know whether he's actually pretending or actually he's thinking that, let's be more realistic. Let's think how the environment is helping my artistic endeavor. Never
Yeah.
mind the fact that this is also a guy who is a child molester. Who gives a
Yeah.
fuck?
Well,
Yeah.
little child molester. That's
Little
the
child molester.
yes.
And also the little is added because the rhyming scheme is wrong. And I'm like, that's the more important thing for
Yeah.
you people. Nice.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah.
This- yeah,
No, no, absolutely true, Varun.
I mean, my impressions were that
I didn't like it.
it's no, I mean,
Sorry,
I
I'm
did.
kidding.
I had this thing of trying to find something interesting to start the year with, because I feel like
Mm.
it'll then put you into a sort of zone of continuously watching something good.
Zone of
And
interest.
this was my
Sorry.
I mean, we are talking about murdering people, so
Oh God.
That
all-
works.
all works out. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I watched this as my New Year's Day watch last year.
wow.
So yeah, and
No wonder you don't like anything else. इतना
So-
cynicism अगर एक मूवी में होगा क्या होगा
Hobi
उसके बाद?
first day of the year.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
Sir, मैंने खो गए हम कहाँ देखी थी, so I think you're better off. आप बच गए. Sorry, go ahead.
into me, Caesar.
Shut up.
Madam Mubarak also has lots of into me. See. So
Sorry, I did not expect this to come into this conversation, but go ahead.
So I was like, and my review still stands on Letterboxd. It's one
Yeah.
of those solid films which I didn't find very memorable.
Hmm.
But I also feel that that's because while it caters to some conventions of the genre, it's also going against them. There's no real detective,
Yeah.
if you think about it, right? Because who's to say that the guy playing detective didn't do it? That would be the
Mhm.
cheapest way out, right? And it
Yeah.
would be a real cop out for an ending
Hmm.
in that sense. But what interested me about it was that these people are all supposed to be friends,
Hmm.
and yet there is sort of like a hierarchy over here.
Yeah.
And so some people are treated better than the others and stuff like that.
It's I
And then,
mean
of course-
again, sorry to interrupt. I think it's very much I know I'm gonna end up making the glass onion reference a lot, but it is so evident in a similar way
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the plotting that you see the Edward Norton character essentially as the linchpin
Yeah.
there who's
Yeah.
controlling everyone essentially.
I
He's
mean,
the
the
producer.
opening
you know.
the only
sequence,
difference
they'll
being that Coburn does not survive the film over here.
Yes.
Hmm.
Whereas
I mean, the opening sequence of this movie is Rian Johnson almost takes the opening sequence of Last of Sheila into Glass Onion.
yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that they go to the dock and they're waiting for the ship
Yes.
to
Oh
come.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That entire sequence, even the camera angles are similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I mean, at this point, you can't
I think when
deny
you're
the
so
fact that it's an
obvious
inspiration.
in also that he had made sure to credit the film as much as he could in the press tour
Yes,
prior to release, that makes sure it's going to be interpreted as a tribute and not as a ripoff.
yes.
And of course, the films in actual substance are different.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like they're
I mean, it's
the
also
biggest
one of them
difference-
is much more optimistic than the other. I feel like
I
it
mean,
just
the
tells you
biggest
similar
difference
yeah.
is the fact that there is a detective. There is
Yeah.
an actual outsider monolith
Yeah.
who is going to enter in this messed up, inner circle and try to
I feel
disrupt
like
it.
I feel like while you're saying it's one of them is more optimistic, that is just the function of any film today that features Hugh
Yep.
Grant. They have to be optimistic.
Yes.
Wonka, Paddington too.
Hugh Grant is in Glass Onion.
Yeah, he's the last one.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Unless he's doing some cameo thing, which I like a voice cameo or something.
No, he's there. You can see him.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Where is he in Glass
Varun,
Onion?
Varun, you
plays-
can check on.
Spoiler for people who've not watched Glass Onion, and if you're a homophobe, you're not going to like this. But then you're a homophobe, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, I
He plays
remember.
Benoit
Oh, I
Blanc-
remember.
Blanc's
Benoit Blanc.
partner.
Okay.
Partner.
Yes, I've forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So,
enough.
and when it's Daniel Craig doing now what is his uncle shtick post Bond essentially.
KFC accent.
Yeah, Chris Evans से आपने भी
Foghorn
चुरा
Leghorn
लिया.
accent. Let's be
Ah.
clear. Foghorn Leghorn accent. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I like the fact that the film is so brutal that it's casual about. You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I couldn't help but think of hit and runs that have happened in Bombay as well,
Of course you
and
would.
how people have gotten away.
Yeah.
And
But this is
this,
no jolly LLB.
हम्म
yeah, this is not a jolly
सर
ending.
बॉम्बे पे क्यों रेस्ट्रिक्टेड रहे दिल्ली पे
Because
भी
film,
चलते हैं
because filmmaking.
हम्म नहीं मतलब जिस मूवी के वजह से हम लोग ये पॉडकास्ट कर रहे हैं वो भी तो मतलब उस शहर का भी तो नाम ले सकते हैं ना
हाँ वो
That's
आप
what I'm
मंडे
saying.
को लोगे काफी हाँ,
Yeah.
So
तो
I
लेनी
found
चाहिए
it
भी।
interesting in its
Sure,
construct more than I actually found the film interesting.
sure.
But I'd be interested in revisiting it at some point to see
Yeah.
what of it, because I was also probably just coming out of Glass Onion maybe 5 or 6 days prior.
Sure. Oh yeah,
So,
then it's
yeah, then it's a bit
Mhm.
difficult, right, to judge it
Yeah.
on its own
To
lens.
I mean,
disconnect
you-
yourself
yeah.
from that movie's
But
effect.
See
I
the-
would like to sort of see this and Evil Under the Sun and all
Yeah.
of these island murder mysteries or
Yeah.
waterborne murder mysteries, if you want to call
Yeah.
them that.
No, I feel in this though, I mean, even if you just look at the color palette ka difference in this and freaking Glass Onion looks like it's taken place in like an animated, I mean, it is sort of a bubble that he has created with like the tech and everything also being a bigger part there versus
Yeah.
here. This is
But
a
it's
parlor
also
game sort of being
it's also
concepted.
it's also an effect of modernity itself. Like
Yeah, of
everything has
course.
to be smooth, everything has to be Instagram filtered.
Yep, yep.
This is so 70s in that regard because it's everything is grainy.
Yeah, it's got that,
Mm.
like I said, right? It's got that washed out.
Yeah.
There's this, I don't know again, I'm not sure if I should credit Herbert Ross for doing this thing before your Halloween or before your Black Christmas, but there's this killer cam POV almost where it takes, like it's the whole creating the mystery by taking the perspective of someone who goes and pulls the lever, which almost leads to a Jaws like sequence of like underwater,
Oh
the
yeah,
camera
that
looking at
propeller. Yeah,
the
yeah, that
propeller
propeller.
almost
Yeah.
pulling like one of the characters down into,
The question is when did Black Christmas even come out? That's a bigger question.
1974, like a year after this. So it's one of those very dodgy.
Yeah, and production
dodgy.
turnarounds used to be very fast.
Yep. I mean, again,
Wrap
it's
up a
very
film.
effective. I think it's more effective there, of course, because that's a horror film, like a really
Yeah.
but this has horror elements to it, especially. But I think I was not expecting. Maybe I because again, as Varun said, the comparison with Glass Onion sort of blunted my expectations of this as a 70s film. So I expected in going sort of just watching a frothy murder. And it is frothy for them, but it's not frothy for us. Like it's a game for them all the time, I feel. But for us, I was just like, this is just all very, very cold and like in the way they treat each other is of course very cold. But like even when the murder happens, one of them is like, and this is going to be repeated in Gosford Park also. Like it's like life moves on, like in a very like blunt way. It's just like it doesn't matter. He's died. Like we'll just go and get dinner at this island we've dropped off at, or like we'll just find a way to get away from this as a distraction.
I'll say this: if you're not directly connected to a person who's passed away,
Hmm.
if you're separated from them by even one person,
Yeah.
I feel like somewhere that does tend to happen. I don't know whether it would happen to friends, especially in a group where people don't
No, but it's a
actually
group,
like one
right?
another.
It's a group, right? They like each other or they at least pretend to like each other. थोड़ा तो effect होगा ही ना मतलब.
Some of the pretending also, like, I mean, after a point, I was like, okay, but that's very stupid, even if you are, like there's this moment towards the second part. So basically, what happens is I'm just going to recount some of the plot is like this Sheila character dies in the first sequence. And then after that, the James Coburn character essentially concocts this whole game. Like it's supposed to be about 5 or 6 sub mysteries each day.
Yeah.
Like each day one is going to happen, going to reveal a secret for one of the 6 friends who is present there, and he hands each of them like a card at the beginning, which reveals them to be one of these things. Is it true? Is it not? It's sort of like left in ambiguity, but it's essentially to serve as a purpose of the Sheila name. Essentially, it forms one part of the one letter, sorry, of the thing of her name is actually
Wait,
formed.
I have to say something.
Yes.
This is like the modus operandi of John Abraham's character in Satyameva Jayate.
Oh yes.
Oh my God, I did
Oh
not.
yes.
I've not seen it.
Yes,
But
I remember
is this
it.
it?
Oh.
He's basically murdering people in a sequence such that they're the police stations they belong to, the first alphabet of
Yes.
each station ultimately spells out Satyameva Jayate.
Yes.
Wow. Fun.
That's a lot of work. That's actually a
No,
lot
but
of
I
work.
feel in this actually it's integrated quite well as a mystery, like just in terms of how you
Yeah,
solve it,
we're
right?
not expecting filmmaking skill from Milab Zaveri.
नहीं मैंने तो देखी नहीं है सर, मेरे पास टाइम है इतना, बट मेरे पास मोटिवेशन नहीं है उतना.
मोटिवेशन और थोड़ा इंटरेस्ट भी तो लाना चाहिए ना. थोड़ा क्वालिटी कंट्रोल करना चाहिए. आई
हाँ.
अंडरस्टैंड जॉब ऐसा है कि क्वालिटी कंट्रोल नहीं है, बट थोड़ा रखना चाहिए क्वालिटी कंट्रोल.
No, but I feel in this it was like interesting just how the title plays a very integral part, in the sense that Last of Sheila is also denoted to like the last letter in the name
Yeah.
Sheila, which is crucial to uncovering who the mysterious killer is. But like the killing actually happens of two other people in the boat. So one of them is in the yacht. Sorry, one of them is Coburn,
सर
who
वो yacht
dies.
नहीं, वो boat ही है.
Only a rich
वो
person
ship ही
can
है.
call a
बोलते हैं ना.
yacht a boat.
वो ship ही है.
शिप है क्या? अच्छा
तो
ठीक है.
वो बेसिकली शिप है.
वो यॉट
Dhruv
बोलते
is
हैं, मैं
like
उनके.
पानी पे चल रहा है ना बस. Titanic.
सर डूब भी तो नहीं ना, बच गई. देयर इज सम डायलॉग अबाउट टाइटैनिक इन दिस, नो?
I think so,
गॉस्फोर्ड
yeah.
पार्क.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
there
so.
is
It's
some.
supposed to be, yeah.
There is a dialogue about. Anyways, the point in Last of Sheila is like there are two murders which, like, I think, yeah, the one thing I did note was like, the first mini game happens inside the, like, one on the island, and then I was like, oh, so we are going to get like 5 mini games essentially, right? Because I didn't know what the film is going to be about. And then after the first game, they spent like an age essentially talking to each other on the boat, yacht, ship, whatever you want to call it. Uh, and then they are like, yeah, and I was like, wait, how much time are they going to spend on this? Because there are like 5 more games to go. I'm like, कितनी जल्दी निपटाएंगे वो लोग बाकी के सब?
Dhruv is going to be a great father at birthday parties.
Yes.
No,
Dhruv
but
is
it's
like,
true. No, like
बेटा
there's so much.
कितना निपटाओ.
They're talking about like a lot of things. I'm like, but you have like 5 more games to go. Like, when are you?
yeah,
You are not helping your case.
Dhruv is more worried about the structure than James Coburn's character is.
I'm like, where is the consistent, momentum of going through all these beats that you
Sir,
so
this
deliberately
is the
set up?
70s. A film did not need to do
Sir,
something
but
every 2
no, I
seconds
know,
to keep
but
your attention.
no, but it's the whole glass onion expectation. No, it's like the whole thing कि कुछ ना कुछ होएगा very like, and it does happen after that, and in a hammer horror sequence, which, and I'm not sure if these guys are.
That's where I think one of the primary disconnect for me lies with this movie.
Sure.
I think the strength of the screenplay is failed by the direction also somewhat. I think because think about this: if you're shooting the entire movie in a boat, and this
Yeah.
is the 70s, special
Yeah.
effects are not that impressive. Star Wars is still 4 years away, so it's
Yeah.
like you are all going to shoot it on location. So
Right.
if you are doing that, at the very least, try to make it more cinematic. The most cinematic the movie goes is when they are in the speedboat, and when James Coburn's character is like voicing on the
Circling.
mic, yeah, and it's circling. That's a very wonderful shot. But I'm like, show me the grandeur of that place, and then juxtapose it with the brutality and the visceral nature of the murder and everything else. Or at the very least, try to show me at least some form of a coherent editing such that you can give me what happens during the murder. My problem with this movie is that when
This
the
is
murder
the
actually
first
happens,
murder, right? So this is the James Coburn murder essentially.
the
in the first.
actual murder, yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So when the first murder actually happens, I don't think that murder was very coherently,
It's not. Yeah, I was
staged
like,
or even edited.
wait, where are like were we one stage inside like
Yeah.
a priest booth, right? Like a confession booth, and then
Confession booth, yeah.
and then it's supposed to be
Priest
broken.
booth. I was just reminded of like a phone booth where you go and there's just a
Sir,
priest.
ये technicalities अब छोड़ो.
Confession,
ये
yeah.
confession booth, but वो टूटा, like it's supposed to be broken, but then
Yeah.
it's you have to enter it from
Yeah,
another
and
side.
then there
but
is
like
one
it's
guy on the
very.
outside who is supposed to be green, but he's not, and it's all that, and it's confusing. When the movie actually tries to show in the end, because the denouement of all these
Yeah.
movies is somebody explaining what has actually happened during the
This is about basically a
explanation.
30-minute explanation, sort
So
of.
when the explanation is happening and when the actual murder is being shown, the editing is much better. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, either you guys did not know which footage to use, or you guys did not know how to
It's
splice it in.
no, it's probably
No, probably
to
they-
confuse us in
Probably
general.
to confuse. Okay, so if you're going to confuse us, I think the editing needed to be much more sharper to a certain degree. I don't think it was that at all.
Sure, sure.
my problem with a lot of the shooting style, especially,
Hmm.
was that it, and he's, from what I can see, a director largely of comedies. He's done like Woody
Yes.
Allen film, he's done a bunch of other stuff.
Hmm.
He's blocking it and shooting it very much like a character drama,
Hmm.
except a close-up is not what you want one after another in a mystery film, because it's also about body language, it's also about
Hmm.
how, you know.
Like Raquel Welch's character Alice, when she's
I was
first
reading
shown,
she was apparently a big nuisance on the set. So
feels
Raquel
like it.
Welch.
It feels like it.
yeah,
इसलिए-
apparently no, apparently they told her that it was written for her and based on someone else, but it was actually based on her herself. So
Hmm.
I mean,
uh,
Kristen Scott Thomas was pretty miserable to work with apparently on Gosford Park too.
Hmm.
oh really? Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know this. Okay.
Raquel Welch's character, when she's first shown as talking to somebody, and the viewpoint and the point of view is towards towards us, because the camera is following them.
Yeah.
I think that staging is also off. I mean, come on.
Oh,
10 years of
do you mean when it's like the haunting mystery music is sort of playing and
haunting
then
mystery music and everything? Yeah.
okay,
I think
okay,
the
yeah.
staging itself is also off. I think I'm like, come on. Like Peeping Tom was 5 to 6 years ago. At the very least, we
This
did not
is
used to
the
get like
Michael Powell film for whoever's
we
not.
never got British movies, and I can understand that movie wasn't exactly successful in Britain or anywhere else. But I
Yeah.
refuse to believe that nobody within the film fraternity had ever seen Peeping Tom. I'm like,
I mean,
try to
Anthony
get it right.
Perkins directed
Yeah.
stuff after this, so I mean,
Yes.
surely he could have had I mean,
Hmm.
he was also part of Hitchcock movies, so I know Varun is not the biggest
But
Hitchcock
no,
fan,
but
but
when
Hitchcock
you're a
knew how to
writer
direct
in the
films.
70s on a film,
Hmm.
unless you're a writer of like some major
Unless you're a writer of
standing,
large
you're
repute.
not making
Yeah.
No, but they were
directorial
big.
calls
They were big. Anthony
in a
Perkins was
different
especially big, I think, in that
different
Perkins, more than
profession.
Perkins, Sondheim. Sondheim
Sondheim,
was
yeah.
huge.
In a different profession.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
He
no,
was
but
still huge.
Perkins you're saying as an actor was, you think that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So
Sondheim was still huge.
nobody's
Like,
going to take a director's not going to take your suggestion. He's going to
yeah.
shoot
Yeah.
it.
Which
And
is
also it's also then about how much of the script are you willing to, because the script's transfer is essentially in how you're shooting so much of the dialogue
Yeah.
ultimately. And that was where I think the Last of Sheila really lost me,
yeah.
Okay.
because it's also got very B movie vibes really.
That I don't mind though. I
I
think
mean, B movie
that
vibes.
helps.
It's not-
if you can use lenses, fisheye lenses,
If you
point of
can
view
do
lenses.
that,
If you
the
can
thing
do
is, it
that,
feels
yeah.
more like a shabby production
Fair enough.
problem
Oh, yeah,
than
that
a
it does.
deliberate choice.
That
Well,
it
in a
does.
B movie.
it is planning to pay homage to that Hammer horror thing, of course, but like it's
To
also
be fair,
to do it
to
in
be
a
fair, if you're going to pay homage to Hammer horror, the first thing you need to do is make your color correction much more brighter, because
I mean, but
Hammer horror
then
was always that.
we're still talking about a transfer which we don't know is
again,
going on.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, but I
that is
also
also
don't
true.
know
But
what do you
again,
think about. I mean, I was interested just in how the film is centered around it, not centered, but like it almost pushes down on Italians. I'm like, are they like just as in like they are supposed to be the person below in terms of just the deck, like the if you're going to go the upper, lower, which the whole Gosford Park thing is, which and I mean it's the whole idea of apparently I was reading that they were poking fun of like spaghetti westerns at that time because one of the titles mentioned is I forgot what the name. Let me check. I forgot to note the title. Never mind. But it's a fistful of lasagna. Sorry, yes, something like that.
Okay.
Like I think Coburn says it at one point, relating to the direction this guy.
I mean, to be fair, this is Coburn we are talking about. Coburn did a movie with Leone couple of years later.
It might be homage. It might be
Sucker.
pushing down. I don't know.
He did Duck Sucker.
Yeah.
He did Duck
So-
Sucker. So it's like
Mhm.
understandable, but it's more like the fact that some of the bits. I think this is a movie very much indebted to its screenplay. It's not.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think there is
It's a
not.
well-written film
It's a very
primarily.
well-written screenplay.
I think
Yeah.
Which
that's a
is
good enough thing. We don't get enough of that also, no, right?
No,
no,
but
no.
I mean, your
I
direction
know,
has
but
to
Hmm.
match it. No, ultimately.
direction has
Yeah,
to
of
match it.
course.
I think the screenplay is carrying the movie more than the
Sure.
direction actually is helping it.
Yeah.
And that's I think a big issue somewhat. I think
Sure.
that's what drags the movie down somewhat. That's the only
Sure.
thing I have with it.
Hmm.
Like Diane can like there are interesting bits here. Diane Cannon's character,
Hmm.
she expresses that the secret she has is she's basically an informant to the
Oof.
House of
Yeah.
Un-American Committee.
It's a
I was like,
really,
nice.
yeah,
I
but
was
like
like,
that's
nice.
very sharply,
Very
like written.
very sharp commentary. Yeah,
Yeah.
very sharp commentary, and
Yeah.
liked it a lot. It's a
Yeah.
very incisive commentary on Hollywood itself because
Yeah.
again, that child molestation thing really got me. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's your minor crime. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like,
In
damn.
comparison to everything
In
Hollywood gets up
comparison to
to.
everything else,
No,
that's a
but like
minor crime.
he's the hero. That was the bigger thing for me. Like he's positioned almost in the end as the person who gets the truth out, which I was like, I can't believe you've not gotten for a softer target. Like ex-convict, may they don't even tell you what all he's done as such, right? Like they just say ex-convict. This is too
No,
specific. I
because it
feel
is it
almost.
is the fact that it is completely blasé for them, that the fact that he had been an ex-convict,
Yeah.
he had been a little child
No, but
molester,
you can put the shop. Like, come on, yeah. You can position the shopaholic as like the not shopaholic. What's the shoplifter?
shoplifter.
The
Hmm.
shoplifter as the heroine. That would be
Hmm.
much easier as a decision
But
than this.
but okay, if you look at the shoplifting allegations that have happened in Hollywood,
Hmm.
they have actually gone a longer way in ruining careers than raping children have.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, no. Again,
Exactly.
Right? Like
yeah.
Winona Ryder, I think it was, who took a pretty big hit for a
Hmm.
shoplifting accusation that had been made against her.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, as
So,
opposed to, well, everyone's
well,
favorite
everyone
Polish
else, we are
filmmaker.
not going to get into
Oh
details on
God,
that
please
because
let's
everyone
not bring
else.
him up. You've already brought up Woody Allen.
Hmm.
No, but it's like that, right? That in fact, when I was reading Sam Watson's book on the making of Chinatown,
Hmm.
Yeah.
the way he talks about it is also that when the discovery was made about Polanski and what he'd done,
Hmm.
Yeah.
people in Hollywood were like, well, Roman likes younger girls. What's wrong with it? That normalization is essentially, I
Yeah,
think,
it's
films.
that nonchalance. I
There's
think
that
it's
opening sequence also, no? When James
I think
Mason, Philip
if we
Dexter.
did not read it, if we did not read it as a commentary status, one might think that Sondheim and Perkins is basically just telling us how Hollywood is actually like, and I'm
Is
like,
yeah, it's interesting.
okay,
James Mason is Humphrey. I forgot the second name. He's Lolita's main character. Stanley
yeah.
Kubrick's Lolita. He
Hmm.
played the main. I mean, it's a very eerie connection. I don't know if
It's a
they
eerie
intended.
connection, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they did, considering like I was reading a little bit about the fact that these guys used to essentially host parlor games in
Hmm.
Manhattan in the 60s and 70s. So it must be, a lot of the casting might be based on very much
I
their
mean, this movie
characters
must
and
have been
whatever.
very inside baseball.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm pretty sure like Perkins and Sondheim basically shared stories and crafted a
yeah,
screenplay out of that. I think
yeah,
that's why the screenplay still feels original and yet feels so you know audacious within its originality because it
yeah.
is telling us things which they must have seen.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just I think the audaciousness is also very much down to the structure, right? I feel like the whole, I feel once the two murders happen and the person who is actually orchestrating all this
Hmm.
essentially reveals,
Hmm.
like the murder of Sheila or the murderer of Sheila is mentioned in the second act kind almost.
Hmm.
And it's like, wait, but what else? I legitimately looked at the timer at
Hmm.
that point. I was like, 40 minute mein aur kya daloge ab? Ab
Hmm.
to kar diya. You basically told me everything essentially. And then of course you get to know that one
There is
murder was.
another problem I do have with the direction itself is the fact
Sure.
that like Richard Benjamin, he's the main guy,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
yeah, Richard Benjamin of Westworld fame, Michael
Hmm.
Crichton's Westworld fame.
Hmm.
Richard Benjamin's character, when it is revealed that he's the one who is kind of
The
sort of
writer,
having an
right?
affair with
Hmm.
Raquel
Oh
Welch's
yeah.
Alice,
Yeah.
that is just brushed aside. I don't think the screenplay necessarily wanted it to be brushed aside. I think that's also kind of a directorial touch.
But don't you think a lot of the film, actually one of the things I did, yes, Varun, you can be back in a sec. Go. Yes, I'm going to keep that in. So anyways, no, I was saying that one of the things that I was actually impressed by was how much the film was doing that hiding in plain sight
Hmm.
thing. In the initial stuff, I was like, who's the alcoholic? That's the big clue that's
Hmm.
almost unresolved in the beginning, where you see an alcoholic card and it goes away,
Hmm.
like someone wraps away and throws it essentially. And there are hints at her alcoholism, which I think is the best
Lee's
performance actually
alcohol.
from the cast, actually
Hmm.
comes from Joan Hackett, who is Lee
Hmm.
Parkman, I think, yeah. And she has the whole, in the beginning only, I remember it's the iced tea, like and then ginger ale. Like she's
Hmm.
drinking something and Tom asks for it and she's like, oh, like reassures him almost that, it's not alcohol. And it's like, it's almost
No,
that
but that no,
minor
but
bits in the.
that is obscure. That is obscuring or obfuscating it by asking a question and putting it as a nonchalant conversation.
Yeah.
This is like putting a revelation within a conversation,
Yes, yes, yes. No,
I'm like, wait, hold on. You need to give me a minute more than that.
that moment, and there's this other moment, remember, when basically Richard Benjamin becomes a detective for
Yes.
us and is
Hmm.
solving it to basically for us to not blame him essentially, and for anyone else to not blame him. There's this moment where she Lee reveals to us and everyone that she is the one who killed uh, Clinton, and she is the one who killed Sheila. And then she just goes down, and I was like, why aren't you going behind her? Weren't you her husband? I'm like, sir, please wake up. And then the director character basically goes, do you know what she means by what she said? And
Hmm.
then he leaves. I was like, okay, that's clearly that's the point where I was like, okay, I'm probably
Hmm.
inclined to now know who is sort of,
Yeah.
orchestrating everything. But I do like films in which you can, when you are allowed enough hints already, where you can very much
To
go back.
investigate on your own.
Yeah.
And then you can basically, once the mystery is unfolding, you can do the legwork yourself. It's not like, I don't know what to say, which is the other, something like Now You See Me. I don't know if
No,
does
I
it
mean
version, but like,
every this thing Agatha Christie adaptation, every Hitchcock film, pull a hukum ka ekka out of your ass and be like, hey, gotcha.
where is Alfred Hitchcock pulling the hukum ka
Uh,
ekka?
he does it a little bit in this one also, Strangers on a Train,
I'm not
when they are
seeing.
like
Don't.
doppelganger.
Thank you.
It's not a
Uh,
spoiler, don't worry. It won't
Acha,
spoil the
okay,
film for you.
okay.
Because
Because I like
it's
it.
a hukum ka ekka,
Okay.
that's why.
See,
Okay.
one of my bigger criticism with Hitchcock, even
The
Dhruv
third
knows this,
act.
कि मेरा criticism with Hitchcock is the third act. I think the
Yep.
third acts are almost always fuck all. It's
Yeah.
like one of the, almost always.
Or even this one, right? Witness for the Prostitution by Billy Wilder. I
Not seen.
don't like the way that
Hmm.
film suddenly like, oh, this is the ending. I'm like, fuck off. I
No, but
couldn't.
thank
I
you, Varun.
hate it
Yeah,
when a
I'm not
film.
going to, I'm not going to edit this, right? So your parents, we
Hmm.
warned. This was Varun. No imitation was happening here.
No imitation, no doppelganger.
So
Nothing.
I hate it when a filmmaker is like, I've given you all this information and now I'm going to. Murder on the Orient Express is such a cop out of an
Yeah.
ending.
But
Everyone
yeah.
did it. I'm like,
No,
what the
I love
hell do
that.
you mean?
No, I love that ending.
What
I
is
love
this?
that ending.
What is this
Everybody did it.
RWA Association murder?
I'm,
Sabne mil baat ke kar liya.
No, I love that ending. Everybody did it. I'm like, okay,
there's a
that
lot
must
of
have taken a
spoilers
lot of work.
flowing about for other mysteries. So yes, no,
No,
but I'm
I
saying
I
I
love
do like.
Orient Express ka ending because that ending seriously comes out
Yeah,
of nowhere, and I'm
it's
like,
also
okay.
poetic that it's being Johnny Depp who's being murdered, right? So I think it's uh
Who was the original Ratchet in the Albert Finney version? Does
I
anyone
really
remember?
don't remember.
I forgot.
I've watched that. It's a Sidney Lumet film. How can you
It's a
It's a
forget
Sidney
that?
Sidney
Lumet
Lumet.
film.
No, but
Finney, Finney is so good in that movie.
I don't really mind films which sort of almost tip over into slight predictability with the ending. But
Yeah.
I do like the idea that if I track back in my head, even in that moment, I can see where the film had sort of laid down the clues for you to catch up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was rewatch. I'm not going to spoil this film, but I was rewatching Merry Christmas recently, right? And this time I was very carefully noticing how he shoots stuff in the elevator or elevator, and it's done in a very, very smart way where you can get it if you look closely
Yeah.
enough. So it's not cheating, which I think is, and it's done in a way which like
Yeah.
side foots you very nicely. It's not doing it in a way which is very, you come out and you're like, oh baap re, ye kahan se ukhada hai in logon ne, ending essentially, right? So I do like that element of this, and I think this one
One of
does.
the big cop out endings, which is almost not a cop out ending because of how ingenious and nonsensical it is the murder is Roger Ackroyd.
Okay.
Varun, if Varun has read it, Roger
Hated
Ackroyd's
that.
ending, I'm like, what
Hey,
the hell?
sir, I'm not editing it. I'm just telling you.
I know. I hated that. I
Okay.
hated it. I was like, मैं पेलता हूँ तेरे को, तू इधर आ तो सही पहले सामने.
Roger Ackroyd's ending, I'm like, wait, what?
Okay.
That was
I was about to
such
I was about to say Sixth Sense is actually ingeniously done. No?
but
Sixth
that's a
Sense.
different genre, so it's doing
I know.
completely.
And
I'll
also
tell you, I
Roger
felt
Ackroyd
even,
Roger Ackroyd hasn't been adapted into a movie, and अच्छा ही है. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, how are they going to adapt it?
You're
you'll
stupid.
have to pick the most trustworthy face known to cinema history
Tom
to
Hanks.
pay the
Tom Hanks.
Your
Will it-
stupid ending might be something like, oh my god, Old with freaking
Which one? Oh,
Old by M. Night Shyamalan. Where I'm just
Gail
like,
Garcia Bernal.
yeah, where you want to basically like tear your hair out because of how idiotic it is.
M.
But
Night
anyway,
Shyamalan.
I had gone into a haunting in Venice saying to myself, अगर
you
ये
can
end
spoil
में-
it for me. Huh, by the way.
I
I'm
said
not-
अगर ये end में बोलेगा ना भूत ने किया तो मैं इसको भूत बना दूंगा. I swear to God.
You know the other movie which has a very believable ending? 36 Chinatown. Sorry,
I
I
knew
had to.
this
I
was
had
coming.
to bring
I
it
But
up.
knew
I
this
mean,
was
like
coming.
this third act problem of the killer reveal, I remember having a distinct issue with because I had enjoyed it so much up until then. I really felt like Rata Kelly had really lost me there.
तो अच्छी पिक्चर ही नहीं अच्छी लगी बट ठीक
I
है.
really enjoyed it. I thought
Wasn't
No, I think the picture is decent. I think every murder mystery kind of has a problem regarding this only. क्योंकि structuring is very important in all these type of murder movies. It's like if you are going to make this murder movie as a twisty and a plotty murder mystery, you better have your ending perfectly lined up, because if you
that's
don't,
the whole
you
I
have
feel
to
that's
work
the
backwards. I feel like in a
Yeah.
murder
but that's I
mystery.
think I mean I think this is a very well documented Hitchcock thing and well documented now by Sriram Raghavan, I suppose, because he's supposedly the apparent heir of Alfred Hitchcock in Bollywood. I disagree, but okay. I mean, I
कहाँ
love
ले
Sriram
जाते हैं ये
Raghavan, but
लोग?
do
कहाँ
not.
Alfred
ले जाते-
Hitchcock never paid tribute to Vijayanand. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Varun. This is a blasphemous claim. But okay, anyways, I'm just saying that this whole idea of I would prefer stuff to be more suspenseful than that the surprise out of. I mean, that
You mean the
awful-
John Carroll Lynch shot in Zodiac?
Zodiac.
But I like that. I
Which
don't
just
mind that.
leaves you with suggestions.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh,
great.
it's fantastic.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's always
The-
great to leave. It's always great to leave these mysteries with ambiguities rather
Yeah.
than a complete resolution. It
No,
helps.
but if you have complete resolution, I feel something like Knives Out
No,
is
but
also
complete
beautifully
resolution.
well done.
Complete
First one.
resolution needs to be completely satisfied. Also,
Yes.
if
I
you
think-
can't
but
satisfy it, that's a risk all the
What
time.
the risk Knives Out took while you are saying that big casting, like
Hmm.
with Glass
Yeah.
Onion, I think everyone knew Ed Norton was the asshole.
Yeah.
Nobody was
He's
guessing.
positioned as the whatever
Yeah.
your Mark
Right.
Zuckerberg, Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos.
Yeah, and it's like even
Steve
and
Jobs
it's like
as well.
Benoit
Steve
Blanc is himself telling everybody
Yeah.
else is telling it is so dumb, it is brilliant, and he's like, no,
Uh-huh.
it is dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but with
Which is
with
the big
Knives
gag, I
Out,
feel.
what
Yeah.
what I really liked was they take
Yeah. Captain
Chris
America.
Evans at
Hmm.
just 5 months after Avengers is ended.
Hmm.
So people are still like, oh, he's Captain America, and it's
Yeah.
flipped, and they're like, he's actually an asshole who killed
No,
his
but
grandpa.
that's a great way of even using your extra, outside
Yeah,
knowledge. Your
outside
Captain
knowledge
America
in your-
turns out to be a freaking monster
Hmm.
essentially who
Yeah.
wants to exploit
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah,
which is
another
like a
movie
great-
tries to do it and fails miserably. But Jovia, we are not talking about The Gray Man, with जो भी हो.
That has a twistiness to it.
No, that doesn't have a twistiness. That
He's
is
the villain
Captain
in that,
America.
no?
That is
Acha,
Chris
okay.
Evans basically being a villain. Yeah,
He
Okay.
looks like
the
who
70s
was
porn
the
star.
no, but who's the guy who's helping Mads Mikkelsen, the American cop who's helping Mads Mikkelsen in Dialogue Destiny? उसकी भी
I
मूंछ है,
have
motorbike
not
चलाता
seen.
है. He looks a little bit like that guy. Holbrook something, I think.
I think, yeah, Boyd Holbrook, I think.
Yeah, him.
Boyd
Oh,
Holbrook.
but I feel it's very hard nowadays in any ways to craft a mystery, right? Like you remember the whole I mean, this is the sort of disappointing angle of, I know Varun doesn't like this movie, but again, not a surprise. In Fallout, Mission Impossible Fallout.
The marketing. screwed
That's what
that
I was about to
movie,
say.
no?
The marketing stuff actually ruins a lot of the stuff also nowadays.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
because
it never was a mystery ki kaun betrayed hai.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
it
a
is
guy.
positioned as that though, no? Like
Yeah.
in the film
Yeah.
narrative, it's structured in a way where it's like a rug pull, where it's like, oh, dekho kya.
Again, it's the same problem. Now, if you're going to cast a person who is going to be a twisty person, do not
Who's going
cast
to
big
cost-
stars in it.
Who's going to cost Warner Brothers millions?
Yeah,
Mucho
do
ki
not
wajah
cast
se.
big stars in it. Do not
Yeah.
cast big stars in it. What are you doing?
I wonder how they did the CG. Did they put like tracking markers on
Oh,
the
Yes,
Starship
that's exactly
set?
that's
you
exactly what they
can you
did.
can tell what the issue is in that performance also, by the way. He is abysmal in that film.
Hmm.
Like in Justice League.
Cavill is not a great actor. I'm going to go out on a limb
He's
and
good
say.
in Fallout though.
No, he's
Decent
a
in
good
Fallout.
actor.
He's
He
fun in,
depends. He's a director's
Uncle.
actor. He's a director's actor. Like Guy Ritchie of all people knows how to utilize him. Can you
This
imagine?
is not going to be a Guy Ritchie love fest now, is it?
A man from Uncle, he was good in. Kya?
Yeah,
not
that's
seen.
what I'm saying.
Not seen.
You should watch that. Though it
I
also
think
has some hammer horror.
It has lots of hammer horror.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
like
think
the visual dissonance of Army Hammer and Alicia Vikander's animation to one another.
Mm.
I'm like,
Alicia
no.
Vikander is good enough motivation to watch a movie. Yes, I give
Visual
you that.
I would
dissonance,
say
visual
Elizabeth-
dissonance and acting dissonance also. Both. hai.
I would say bigger reason to watch that
Taller.
movie is Elizabeth Debicki.
Elizabeth
one,
Debicki.
yes,
Bigger,
yeah.
matlab in every aspect. Huh?
Yeah, she's taller than Cavill.
Yeah, she's taller than everybody.
She's one of the better parts of Tenet also. So, anyways, um,
One
last-
of the better. She's the best part of
Only.
it.
I mean, the
She's the
action
best
is
one.
good, no?
I mean,
Like
if
that
you're
way.
playing your film
And the
back,
soundtrack is good.
I mean, yeah,
The soundtrack is
is
fun.
great. Okay.
Anyways, Last of Sheila, guys. Any other thoughts? I
I
mean,
think we've said
No,
the
we
last
went
of
also
Sheila.
on a Tenet bashing, minor Tenet bashing. So
वो
Tenet bash
तो
again.
expected है no. नहीं, but the one other note was for me was at least the whole meta element of the whole writer and director war, essentially, which I thought was
Yes.
fascinating. Which was the
Mhm.
whole idea of the writer always losing out. Essentially, it's in a murder mystery. I was thinking how in this film, especially when you reveal the murder mystery, the writer loses out essentially, but the director has ways of manufacturing his ways still of that mystery in his own way. So I was like very fascinated by how it played around with that angle of the writer almost coming out as firstly a moron, because I love how the director is basically like, your mystery has too many
It has
loose ends.
so many holes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, write it better or something like that. That variation of
Yeah.
it you get. And I thought that was like an interesting. And again, maybe it's the 70s. I know late 60s onwards, Hollywood started to ape a lot of French New Wave in terms of the meta elements and, integrating, which I think the whole un-American activities and all that stuff also comes out
Yeah.
because of, how it being able to poke fun at itself. Is it in a productive way or just a self-patting sort of American fiction sort of way? I don't know. But
It's
Movie
Americans.
Bashobia.
Put it self-patting. It's Americans. Put
no,
it
but I
self-patting.
don't. But it's got too much of a sour sense of, or like that sour edge is there to the 70s film, which I feel always makes it still feel very.
सर वियतनाम वार होते होते 5 साल गुजर गए उस टाइम पे. ठीक है, people are
5
now
नहीं.
wondering कब end होगा.
5
So
नहीं, 10.
10 I'm sorry 10 at this point
1973 में खत्म हुई थी, right? ये, Last of Sheila.
74,
74.
74 is when
Okay.
American involvement ended, but it had started with Kennedy. Kennedy
Yeah.
died
So
in
it's like-
63.
63.
Yeah, so it's like it's almost 10 years at this point. Of course they're sour. People are like हो क्या रहा है भाई, छोड़ो अब. So you understand what's going on.
Yeah, but this is produced by what? Warner Brothers, was it? Or was it distributed
Warner,
by Warner
Warner,
Brothers? Sorry.
Warner
I mean,
Brothers, Warner Brothers.
all films are distributed only by the studio. They have
No, I was thinking about if it was produced by a studio also, considering
No,
they
no.
had, no?
I
No,
don't think
okay.
so, because it doesn't feel like a studio film, really.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Mm.
I mean,
It's
just in terms of its. I mean, but again, it's the 70s. Which film felt like a studio film is the other question.
Mm.
I
Warner
feel.
Brothers were the distributors, like you say,
Mm.
but
I
they were the
mean,
studio home in that sense. And Ross
Ken,
produced it himself. It was
there's a film called
produced and directed by him.
Altered States by Ken Russell, right? That
Oh,
film
that
no
movie
one
is
is going to
weird.
produce now.
That
And it
movie
was
is
produced,
weird.
yeah, it was produced by freaking Warner Brothers or 20th,
But
whoever it was. I was like,
but
how?
it's
How does
only
this
now
happen?
that so again, this is something in the 70s, right, when
Yeah,
the multinational corporations started to take over the studios. So
yeah,
Paramount, for instance, got sold to Gulf Western,
yeah,
Yes.
who and it became one of the many companies under the Gulf Western umbrella.
Mm.
yeah,
Gulf Western was intent on turning profit out of Paramount.
Mm.
However
yeah.
you do it,
However you do it, you're going to turn it.
it
To
just
the extent
happened
that
that
they're going
Charles
to.
Bludon was a film
Hmm.
nut, and he
Hmm.
And they're
wanted
going
to
to
watch The
auction of any
Godfather.
books.
And
They are going to auction of any best-selling books they possibly can. No wonder The
Sure.
Godfather got made. They needed money.
so
Again, I did
and
not anticipate The Godfather being brought here again,
no,
but
so
okay,
yeah,
it's fine.
that
I
was
mean,
a
I like
consequence
that
of the
movie.
Gulf
Like that movie. I
Western
love that
head
movie.
being
Sorry.
fond of cinema and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there were plenty, like what Zaslav is doing with Warner Brothers now is a consequence of corporate culture having like decided everything.
People getting angry over it. I'm like, you're fighting a losing battle at this point. These people are all looking at the bottom line and they're
Bottom
just
line,
wanting, they're just wanting to trim the fat off. That's it.
Yeah.
forget the
Yeah.
fat. They're looking to trim off anything that they cannot turn into a merchandise, they cannot
Of course.
give off as rights.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
it's very surprising that after Robert Evans left Paramount, where he had been head of production until Godfather 2, I think.
Godfather 2.
Yeah, he
Mm.
left, and believe it or not, Paramount appointed or Gulf Western appointed a professional production designer to head their slate of production at Paramount. And then Blue Dawn was sort of told that no, we should have business people. So MBAs then came into the studios in the mid 70s, and that practically then they started to change the track to what it is now, where like Scott Stuber has just been sacked by Netflix.
Corporatization of overall art form always leads to finally what is currently happening. That's basically
It's the
and
cyclical stuff, though. No, I feel
It's
like
the
it's
cyclical stuff, yeah.
will reach its part, and then it sort of will have
Fox
that
and
collapse,
the
and then
whole
sort of
Murdoch
Hmm.
thing,
Yeah.
where they were like they were going over on Titanic, so they sold domestic distribution to Paramount because they were like, oh, the thing is bleeding money and whatnot. They were already they greenlit it for like 110 million, and then Cameron overshot the budget by another 100.
because it is
So-
James Cameron, of course. It is.
कमाए, but उसका 10 गुना कमा लिया, तो ठीक है.
But imagine if they'd not had to sell off that 65 million to Paramount, which Paramount still holds today. Any re-releases in America,
Yeah.
Paramount is pocketing it.
Paramount is pocketing that money. Yeah.
करा भी तो था re-release 3D में, 4D में, 5 पता नहीं next में
It's
पता नहीं असली
released
बढ़िया
every
create
December
कर
and every
देंगे.
Valentine's Day in half the country.
आपकी favorite picture है ना?
बिल्कुल नहीं.
चलो ठीक
जब sinking शुरू होती है तब picture शुरू होती है sir.
है.
I love that
is like the
sinking
last
when
5
he
minutes.
says like, yeah.
That is literally the last 5 minutes.
Not the sinking actually. But
As in
the
you mean the once the
iceberg
water,
right ahead. Yeah.
हाँ, okay. हमारे last का
is
1 घंटा basically.
Last 1 ghanta basically.
No, but you remove about half an hour of that chit-chat and goo-goo and all that bullshit.
Sir, that is the whole movie. क्या कह रहे हो? Half an hour.
What chemistry?
They have good chemistry,
पहना
no?
रहा था. They have good
Why
chemistry.
are we
उसको टोपी
talking
पहना
about
रहा.
Titanic in a Last of Sheila and Gosford Park?
Oh, your yacht आ गया ना? Yeah, ship. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Anyways,
I
I'll move
expected
on.
Dhruv to say something like मेरे घर में पानी है. Titanic पानी में डूबी थी.
Sir, आपका joke अपने chat पे worst था, okay? About football, which is almost, I feel it's copied from either like a Priyadarshan movie or like a.
Oh
Not
yeah, that was
really.
bad. That was a bad joke. I'm like,
I was like,
wow.
I mean, come on, Varun.
I like
Anyways,
the rhyming scheme.
ठीक
21
है.
dudes chasing after a ball.
अच्छा, you don't need to repeat it. I was saving you the embarrassment, but okay.
It's
करो,
not embarrassing.
करो,
I'm
उसके बाद मैं transition मारूंगा.
I am a Bhanumati का पिटारा equivalent of dad jokes.
Play the Gosford Park ka music in the middle of this.
We we are moving on to Gosford Park by Robert Altman, which I think which would only be fair for me.
to say, right? That it's
Yeah,
a
it'll be
remake
fair to say that it's a remake, official or unofficial, whatever you want to say, of Jean Renoir's The Rules of the Game.
I think yes, just said it
Acknowledged
also
it.
repeatedly. Acknowledged
Yeah.
it repeatedly. There is a homage to
Yeah,
Gosford.
I mean, very
There is a
homage
homage.
is slightly light, like undermining it. It's very much off a piece,
Like
almost
Yodha is a homage to Non-Stop.
God, you had to put that in. Anyways,
Of course I do.
but the Gosford Park is your original Eat the Rich, I suppose. But it's not even like, I think Eat the Rich now has become the sort of film in which you get either a moment of catharsis or you get that momentary satisfaction of, having
And Comedy of Manners was never about attaining catharsis. Comedy of
Yeah.
Manners is just telling you, look, these are the people, look at how pathetic they are. Now
Yeah.
follow them for two or two and a
Look,
half
if
hours.
if Michael Gambon is pathetic, no, I want to be pathetic. Look at the
Yes.
luxury he lives in.
I mean, it's a very. Anyways, Gosford Park is set in 1930s England, 1932, I think specifically. So this is very much commenting on the period. I think a lot of it actually has, like, it invokes a lot of wartime.
Interwar period, like the fallout of the war.
I think-
and
I think
the
it.
impact on a lot of estates.
I think
all
the
of that is
writer,
baked
I
in.
think mentioning the writer is essential here because
Julian
Julian
Fellowes.
Fellowes, the writer, I think people know him more from his consequent work rather than Gosford Park, which is
Yeah.
Downton Abbey. And
Yeah.
one of the key moments of Downton Abbey, keep in mind, this is coming from a guy who hasn't seen Downton Abbey at all, but I know what Downton Abbey is about. And the fact of the matter is, Downton Abbey, one of the key things about Downton Abbey is the upstairs versus downstairs
Yeah.
conflict.
Not upstairs, it's downstairs conflict. I'll elaborate because I have actually watched it.
He has actually, Varun has actually seen
Varun
it.
is the expert here. Like
Varun is the
he was
expert
the
here,
expert
yes.
in another topic, which is currently edited out from this
Yes.
conversation. Yeah.
It examines not class conflict so much as it just shows you life as it would have been
Yeah.
for like for people above stairs and below stairs.
Yeah.
And to be fair to fellows, I know people are like, oh, it's a soap opera and whatnot. Downton Abbey is perhaps probably one of the best television shows I've ever watched. That cast is uniquely outstanding. It's so sprawling.
How was the movie? There was a movie recently, right?
There are
There's been
two
two
movies. There are
movies.
two
Two
movies.
movies.
There is a
Okay, I
third
don't
movie
think-
coming out.
Yeah, and a seventh season is likely to enter production.
Okay.
So the problem with the movie is that I don't think the translation works from TV to film
Sure.
as well.
He's
And because
directing
it's
it or writing it?
Kind of
It's-
makes sense also, na?
He's
if you
written
think-
them, but no, it's also because a season gives you a full 12 hours to conclude an arc, whereas here you getting 2 hours in
2
which
hours.
to do something, and it's quite unlike something like, say, The Fugitive, which is also based on a television show, or something like Mission Impossible based on a television show. Man from Uncle based on a
But that
television
is based on, right?
Because-
these are direct continuations. These
Yeah.
are following
Okay.
the
So
That's
you
where the
need to
problem
have
is.
watched Downton Abbey, the TV show, to
yeah,
watch.
otherwise you are not going to. It's not going to work. Like
Sure.
Spoilers for Downton Abbey, the second film here.
Hmm.
If you've not watched the television show, the death of Maggie Smith's character at the end of that film is not going to work for you.
Sure.
Because you'll just maybe, if you've been a Maggie Smith fan, I am, because I've seen her in different avatars over the years, right? Obviously Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter, but also like David Niven's very beautiful wife in Murder by Death, which is the Robert Moore
What
film.
about the best exotic marigold hotel?
I've not watched that.
Okay.
So I don't watch anything that exoticizes India, thank you.
Well, you are missing out on Dev Patel's wonderful accent.
I
Kidding.
don't think I'm missing out on anything.
No, you're not. You're not. She is very good in it.
Yeah,
regardless,
but
which
I
is
mean,
hard,
yeah, it's
when is
like
she not? Sort of. It's that.
water
whole
is wet kind of situation.
thing. Yeah.
So it's that, right? And the thing is that because we are in India, soap opera is our day to day, not in terms of watching it, in terms of how we behave. We operate on a slightly higher pitch emotion.
Yeah.
So I felt the show worked for me because of that. Also because I like the whole mood of England. I know people are like Empire, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm a little too late on the scene to feel angry about it. As much.
Like Varun is
I mean,
a Gymkhana club fan.
I
Not
mean,
really.
to be fair,
I enjoy
to be
going
fair,
to Gymkhana.
No,
clubs.
I mean,
want
to be
go in.
fair, podcast का नाम Queen is Dead है.
Yes.
Queen Dead है.
हाँ. Queen
Yeah.
मतलब वो तो actually dead है ना.
वो
क्या
actually
करें?
dead है.
Anyways, go ahead. आप जिमखाना के बारे में बात करो. नहीं, वो
नहीं,
मंडे को.
No. I have great memories of Gymkhana clubs. I don't know what to talk about.
मैं 2 बार ही गया हूँ, but I mean, I'm just.
It depends on which Gymkhana you went to.
Why are
एक ही
we
जगह जाऊंगा
talking
ना.
about Gymkhana again?
नहीं,
I
because
also have
it's
memories about
talk.
Gymkhana.
No,
We
because
are not.
it's talking more about
It's
the
about
sort of
those people, really.
places
Yes.
and people. I think that's the big.
But this
thing.
is more like, it's also not just a comedy of manners. It's a play on the whole manor house murder mystery. Right?
Yep.
You've got this classical setting, and
Nice.
Robert Altman's like, I'm not going to.
How are you
tell about
spelling
it.
Manor House murder mystery? Is it MANNER or MANOR? Both ways, right?
Wow.
Wow.
Sorry,
Pull
it
that
was.
joke.
I thought I was
Pull
giving you
that
credit
joke.
for making a double, a nice.
You have made that. I had not thought of it.
Oh, never mind. Then that's poor on your part. I was about to say an expletive, but I didn't. Anyways, you are elaborating on
So yeah,
Manor House.
So
Sorry.
Fellows is drawing from that entire world in
Yeah.
both Gosford Park and then in Downton Abbey. And
Yeah, this is
got some
this is
corruption of
essentially
it in the Gilded Age.
this is essentially a dry run to what will
Yeah.
become his effective filmography in a way. So it's like fine. It's like I'm going to make a very strange comparison, and Dhruv is going to kill me for it.
बोलो.
It's
कभी
like
खुशी, कभी
Sorkin
Oh.
doing the American president for the West Wing. Basically, it's
Okay.
the dry run. Sorkin doing American president. Rob Reiner ka movie.
I thought you were going to say
I
something
like
like Sorkin doing the lawyers hearing in the Social Network as a dry run for that trial of Chicago 7.
Oh my God.
No.
See, now I have a issue. उसके अलावा मुझे Sorkin अच्छा लगता है.
And I loved Trial of Chicago 7, but जो भी है. My point
Campy
being,
ass movie. that
अरे
was.
सर छोड़ो उसको छोड़ो
my point
बाद
being,
में.
my point being, filmmakers, writers is doing dry runs on
Yeah.
movie 2 hour movies, and
Yep.
then taking that kernel and creating long form television out of it. I
Yep.
think Sorkin has done it. I think Fellows has done it. If we start thinking more, there will be more examples out of it.
Yeah.
But Gosford Park definitely feels like Downton Abbey threads are definitely within it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just finished it myself, like literally half an hour before we started recording. No, actually, before we started recording, I finished like 5 minutes before that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm particularly fond of this sort of, film. I mean, I'm a big Robert Altman fan from whatever I've seen
You're
of
also
him.
fond of gloomy environment and
But it's not. So this is. It's a very interesting
बारिश
combination.
हो रही है, grey clouds हैं. Of course,
नहीं, but see, it's the aesthetic is very interesting
So
actually. with this
basically
film.
England.
हाँ, इंग्लैंड ही तो है और क्या.
Dhruv went too far west.
Sir, New York can be very gloomy also. But anyways, no, my
Eat the Rich narrative is about to enter the podcast.
no, see, my point is that I'm generally a fan of this sort of. I mean, it's a closed environment as much as the house
It's a
or
cozy
mansion
room.
itself.
It's quote unquote a cozy room murder mystery, except cozy room is literally a manor, and that is cold.
Yeah, and it's massive also. That's the big thing, right? I feel it's the whole idea that they have that much space to move around in that place. But my sort of predominant feeling while watching Gosford Park at least was of like proper discomfort, and I mean that as a compliment. Like I found, despite the area and the place being huge, and like you having that very clear distinction between upstairs and downstairs, their lives are so intermingled in a strange way, just in terms of the downstairs people almost adhere to a similar sense of hierarchy, right? They are not called by their own names, they're called by the masters they serve, and that's how they sit around on their table. And I think that, and there's a lot of, I think what you were saying, I think Varun, you had mentioned in our chat yesterday that the whole thing in a lot of
It's
these films.
It's co-opting societal rigidity. It's co-opting societal rigidity to such an extent that you can't imagine a life beyond that, right?
Yeah, there's that whole song also, no? Life, what's the whole that a life somewhere else or land somewhere else or something like that? I've forgotten.
I'm going to make a very weird comparison. Varun is going to hate me. Dhruv is going to love this. The very
there is
weird
some K3G coming in, I think.
Yeah, the very weird comparison here is Rocky or Rani ki Prem Kahani, in which Jai Bachchan Bachchan's character is essentially co-opting patriarchy, even though she's the
Sure.
matriarch of a family, but she is co-opting patriarchy to such an extent that she works antithesis to
And
what the modern day woman actually is.
got it.
This is
Yeah,
kind
no,
of societal rigidity having changed her so much that she has become what she never wanted to be in the
but I
first place.
feel, I think
Yeah.
that's, I mean, Varun is giving us a look, but I feel that's a totally valid point.
You're not enraged that Altman and Karan Johar have been put in the same room.
But
And
it's not
you guys
Altman.
judge
But
me.
no, but it's not Altman writing it. No, it's fellows who's written it. Altman
It
is
was also
directing.
pure.
Hmm.
So,
No, but like, I mean, come on, like, it is a similar-ish setting in terms of you get, if you
I mean,
can
the
I
Helen
do
Mirren
feel-
character.
I
I
do
mean,
feel
the
we
Helen
should-
Mirren character. If you think about it in this, like,
yeah,
she
what
is
happened?
so good.
She's
like
so good in this.
wonderfully understated in this film,
Yeah.
like for the longest time. And because when she has that, like, and even her moment of revelation in this
Yeah.
is so matter of fact. I was just like, I was kind of heartbroken in that. I was like, this is so like,
She's
there's a
like
whole,
2 + 2 4 hota hai. What do you mean?
What do you
This
mean?
is
Yeah,
surprising
basically,
to you.
yeah.
I'm the perfect servant, right? So like,
Yeah.
that just
That is
flat
the
way of,
rigidity.
Yeah,
That
in
is
fact,
the
what you were
rigidity
saying,
I'm
right?
talking about, right? It's maintaining a societal hierarchy, even though
Yeah.
the world around you is at the danger of breaking apart from the
Yeah.
societal hierarchy.
Yeah.
I like that you said that the worlds are intermingled
Yeah.
because they're not supposed to be. And in this particular situation,
Yeah.
they are intermingled to the point or to the level that they are purely because Michael Gambon's character can't keep his bloody pants on.
Can't be, yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, I was about to say that you mentioned this as a sort of, easy way out in a lot of murder mysteries nowadays
Yeah.
where you portray, but this is used to such terrific effect
Yeah.
in Gosford Park because it's so
The
central
conviction of the filmmaking itself is
Yeah.
driving the plot that
And it's
is
Altman
in place.
like maddeningly not revealing to you that it is Gambon who is doing it. He's just hinting at you constantly,
Yeah.
but he's not maddeningly not revealing to you.
Until Emily
Even when-
Watson has that outburst.
Even
Oh,
when
yeah.
Then it
Kelly,
gets
even when
was-
Kelly MacDonald's character, Kelly MacDonald's character goes down towards the washing basin, and we see the
Yes.
other servant,
Yeah.
having that
Having sex
having
with
sex
somebody
with
else,
him.
yeah.
We don't understand that it is him. For
Is
a
that
minute.
him though?
No,
Or
that's
was it?
not
No,
him.
that's what I
the
was about to say.
That
That's
wasn't
not him. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's the whole, I think, bigger point about the whole idea that everyone here is
Everyone
almost
here,
like that
yes.
Gambon, like that thing is going on
Yeah.
basically for everyone, even the American.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Bob
American,
Balaban is so good, man.
the Brit American humor in this, like the whole, whatever they are trading blows at each other is freaking.
Yeah.
So,
Also,
anyways,
Ryan Phillip gives the best performance of his career and then falls down a goddamn cliff. His career completely.
I thought he went down an actual cliff. No, but I do feel like this is a criticism I have largely of Fellows' filmography, and it's because I am not in favor of Raja Rajwada bullshit, and peerages and stuff like that. It's great for somebody like me to see because it's an alien world, right?
Yeah.
I'm never going to be a British peer in my life. I have no intention of trying to become one either. So, but what he does is in this film and in Downton Abbey, he is trying to romanticize these people. So here he does a very clever thing. He makes sure that Gambon's character has a knighthood. He doesn't exactly have a peerage because that would make him blue-blooded. He is a working capitalist industrialist, which is such an easy cop out. And I do wish Altman had tried to, rectify that at some level. Of
I
course,
think
then we
Altman
would
is I think Altman is playing the opposite end. Like it's the dissonance, right? It's a dissonance between the writing and the direction which complements it.
Yeah, because then Altman ensures everybody gets lampooned.
Yes, exactly.
In some way or the other.
Hmm.
But then I do feel it weakens the film in a certain way to say that, it's because he's a working man who rose from he's not blue-blooded. He's not related to the Queen of England or the King of England, rather. In any way, he's a capitalist who has grown a business of factories.
Interesting.
Yeah, I found that to be a problem.
You think the factory working angle of it sort of overwhelms the
not really, but I feel I do feel like that is the intention. Altman pulls away from it because Fellows is a conservative.
Altman pulls away from it. I think there are some murder mystery movies which really double down on that aspect. One of the examples is Kon Ichikawa's the Inugamis,
You had suggested, right?
which also explores kind of a similar factor in which a rich guy dies and tries to sell off his give off his wealth to his children, and that's what sparks the murder. The fact is, the guy who died, he's also a quote unquote working class factory worker who kind of had this similar setting, affair with a servant and everything. But in that case, because that is Japan, because that is post-war, and because it's like post-war, and also how the drug trade increased because of the war, I think that angle is very much explored. Here, Altman just pulls away from, which is fascinating as a contrast in this.
Right.
No,
So
but I feel like before we mention, I think it's very important to firstly mention that the murder mystery is very much secondary in this film to the film's intentions. I feel it doesn't like there are.
It comes out of nowhere. The murder mystery
I
actually
mean, there are
feels like
just
it comes out of nowhere.
yeah, there are like minor the camera lingers for a second on the poison bottle, like lingers for a second on the bloods, like
which I
so
felt
blood
personally
spilled.
was, I'm like, are you going to make it that obvious?
But I think it lulls you with so much other information almost at a point that it's like
subsequently the information is overwhelming. But
Yeah.
that poison stayed with me. I'm like, I could have done without the lingering on that.
Yeah, I feel the weakest. Actually, I felt the film
That
is
is the
weakest when it's
closest
the
where the
murder
movie.
mystery.
That is the closest
I
where the movie
actually
comes into
enjoyed
being a
that,
pulpy
right?
murder mystery.
No, I'll tell you why I enjoyed that. Because
Sure.
Stephen Fry is so good.
Okay.
He's a bumbling cop who's about to pick up evidence and start drinking whiskey out
But
of it.
he also has this really like again nonchalant but like piercing line where he's basically
Yeah.
like, I know where to look. With
Yeah.
you people and the downstairs, they don't have any connection. Like who I'm going to look for essentially people who he had a real connection with
Yeah.
for the murderer essentially. And I'm just like, well,
Like there is
that's
an incisive remark from him because this
Yeah.
is the guy who is also like given a case. This is not a guy who is going to who has a towering personality who is going to become your voice of reasons or your voice of conscience.
Even though like
Altman is
Stephen Fry is towering.
Yes.
he is towering, but he's not. He doesn't have the personality.
Yeah, he's
to be
not
so
the
towering.
overwhelming detective in
Yeah.
any way.
There is, but this film, unlike sort of say like a Last of Sheila, does have conscience. Like I feel there are conscience characters.
In Kelly MacDonald's character, I
She's the
think.
most
She's
apparent
so
one.
beautiful.
I mean, this is fourth person I can note for Varun.
No, in the sense in the character. I mean.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
fine.
okay.
No, she's always been.
Sir,
No, she's
Varun
good
ka
looking.
beauty-
I'm not.
Sir,
But
Varun का
underrated
beauty
actor.
standard, Varun का beauty standard थोड़ा questionable ही है, but जो भी
No,
है,
no, but
छोड़ो.
Kelly MacDonald
Sir,
is lovely. in
people
something like
who
Puzzle
like
also.
Disha Patni will not criticize my appreciation.
Sir,
of the female
appearance or acting capability अलग है.
No, Kelly MacDonald. Anyways.
form. Oh, Kelly
Anyway.
MacDonald is.
Kelly
I mean,
MacDonald
but
is great.
the thing is that if you look at something like No Country for Old Men, the way she plays that character, she's so full of innocence and up against like a harsh sort of bleeding Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting contrast over here.
No, she's always
also,
been
she's
very
paired
underrated.
Kelly MacDonald was the best part of Boardwalk Empire, a show which progressively got worse after
I
the
watched
second
one
season.
season. That's
Yeah,
it.
progressively got worse, but she was the anchor of that show.
Yeah.
She was phenomenal.
No, she's been a
Buscemi is
fairly
also pretty good.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, she's been a very underrated actress throughout her career. I feel right. She
Mhm.
never got her due almost. I feel.
Yeah, it's like people have forgotten when people say like Ewan McGregor was in Trainspotting.
Trainspotting.
They've forgotten she's in it too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just his film almost. Like
Yeah,
they've forgotten the rest of that.
No,
that
but I think
cast.
to stand out in this cast is also something.
This is a
because
sprawling
this
cast. Clive Owen
And-
is in this. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah,
is the second film of Clive Owen which I've watched and I've gone like, guy was a very great actor. Where has he vanished? Sort of like that sentiment.
He hasn't. He's just
He's doing
making. He's just
Marlowe.
choosing. Marlowe. Matlab, that show is great, by the way. Sam Spade, not
Okay.
Marlowe. Monster
I thought you
Spade.
meant the movie or someone. Anyways,
Oh,
back
sorry,
to
Sans Spade.
Monster
back
Spade.
to
No,
back to
but
sort of
Clive
Gosford
Owen,
Park
Clive
and
Owen is
yeah.
making interesting choices in his career. I don't think he's interested in being
Sure.
a movie star or anything like that. He just
Sure.
wants to
He
do
had that
projects.
moment, and like we let it
Mm.
go after that.
Yeah.
Sure.
He doesn't
Nee,
want to
but-
do anything more than that. That's
No, but I think in general, what are your sort of impressions of the film and just, I mean, how much I feel there's a lot of, I think your appreciation of this film might also depend on how much you are willing to indulge in living with these people and like, and sort of laughing
mean-
at them, but also, but I feel there is, which is why I sort of message you guys saying that it makes something like Knives Out look like Child's Play. I think it's just because this isn't mocking, like it's mocking them, but it's also so rooted in that sort of milieu without, it's not heightened enough.
Think of it.
Yeah.
Think of it from this point of view. For us, looking at the Britishers and looking at the blue blood
Yeah.
and blue society itself, it
Yeah.
almost automatically, initial reaction is always going to be somewhat mocking along with some
Yes,
sort
of
of an
course.
appreciation.
And
Yeah.
Along with some,
our generation, let's be very clear, there are
there's a
plenty
our
of
generation.
Indians who feel
Yeah.
like the Raj was the bee's knees and like I love it and why doesn't it come
Yeah,
back?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and it's like for their generation, like the Crown is the best thing ever.
yeah, those fuckers are nuts.
Yeah, exactly. But the point being, this is the guy who was worried that his mom is going to listen to the podcast. Anyway,
मना कर देना.
हाँ.
लिंक
हाँ.
नहीं भेजूंगा.
हाँ.
My
दो लोग
point
कम
being
सुनेंगे
कि-
हमारा podcast. Out of
people
10.
listen, क्या कह रहे हो?
I'm kidding.
And the perspective here is कि if you were interested in the murder mystery angle of it, I think
Yeah.
you are going to stick with it more or less. I think what Altman does very well is because it is gloomy and because its direction is phenomenal. I think Altman really does well to lull you inside the entire trappings of this manner, such that
Yeah.
you are interested in what is going on. You are interested in how these rich elites almost treat these servants as nothing, as equivalent to walking, talking suits of armor.
Yeah.
You know,
It's also like I love
they don't care. They don't
Kelly
care about them at all.
MacDonald's sort of induction into the inner circle of Maggie Smith's character. Essentially, it's the whole we'll do the gossip bit when I need it, but like just make sure my dress is washed.
It's the
even though I
class.
won't
It's
wear
the
it
it's the
to and
class
from.
angle of it. It's a class angle of it. I will try from Maggie Smith's perspective. She's like, I will
She's
try
phenomenal
to
in
get
this.
into. I'll try to get into the muck of it, but only up to a point. I will just pull back.
Yeah.
No,
But I
and
think that's
also, I feel like Kristen Scott Thomas, right, who's sort of resorts to settling scores that, oh, you're going to sleep with the help, so I'll also sleep with the help.
yeah.
And then that allure goes away when she sort of
Discovers.
realizes he's not the help.
Help.
And
Yeah.
she's like, now I don't want to sleep with him.
Yeah, that's the moment where
Because being
Richard
the
Harris
help,
drops
because
the
being an
coffee.
American is worse than being the help at this point.
No, because being an American movie star is worse than being the help.
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole Clive Owen stick where he's basically like, is he a, like, I think they ask him,
Worse,
is the
he's an
person-
actor.
He's an actor. Yeah. So I think like there's again lots of again I don't just want to praise Altman because I know a lot of the ticks he's
I think
borrowed is
Emily
from
Watson. I think
Renoir.
Emily Watson is
Renoir, sorry.
She's lovely.
phenomenal in
She's
this.
another actor who's been undermined, I feel, for a long time by the industry.
She never got her due in movies, but she's like a
TV,
household name in
right.
British television.
Yeah.
She's like in so many miniseries and TV shows.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
This is
to
That's just
2000.
because Britain में बनती mini series.
Gosford Park is what 2001, right? So
Yeah.
basically, her breakout performance was 2 years before this in Breaking the Waves by Lars von Trier, which remains one of the best performances of all time, I think, for me at least. So I think she is that good in that film. Yeah.
It's a very, like you said, right? It's such a sprawling cast. There's Eileen Atkins. There's Derek Jacobi is in this.
Derek Jacobi is in. Yeah, he's the butler.
He is Sir William's valet. So he's
Valet, yeah.
Next to the butler would be him
Yeah.
in the pecking order.
Yeah.
There's Charles Dance is in it.
Charles Dance.
Charles Dance is in it as a deaf on 1 year blue-blooded guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy Northam, who later appeared in a film called Enigma, which was directed by Michael Apted, I think, and then of course was in The Crown as Sir Anthony Eden. He plays Ivor Novello in this.
Yeah.
And like I know I keep going back to it, but man, Bob Balaban.
Bob Balaban is so good in this. He's hilarious. Poor guy. He's going to the phone and trying to call California, and every time he's talking about Charlie Chan.
No, but it's also very funny where he's basically like, they speak like English people here, which I'm like,
Yes. They speak like English people. The servants don't speak. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, it's just I feel
He's
it's
a
really
producer also on the film.
Yeah,
He
he's a
gave,
producer
he's
on this.
credited as the idea giver also of the script along with Robert Altman. So, but yeah, I mean, we
This
praised.
is very much an Altman movie. I'm like, it
I mean, I think
can't
it's the
be anybody
whole.
else at this point. If you
Yeah, I
think
feel.
about
I
it.
mean, a lot of the ticks which have been sort of popularized by him is the whole overlapping dialogue, and you have
Yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah.
massive cast, and then this.
That is
And
a tad bit less here. That
less
is
actually,
actually
yeah.
a tad
So
bit less here.
there are some shots here where I was like, that's a very odd angle to shoot that sequence. Like there's this scene when two people are talking and the camera like goes behind like these bushes or like the artificial bushes, and I'm just like, what an odd way to
But
shoot that
that's
sequence.
apparently he shot it like he was filming a play, which is two cameras running simultaneously at all times.
No, I think this is
And
very
doing
much
the opposite tracks.
this is very much I mean borrowing a lot from
Voyeurist.
Renoir.
This is very much voyeurism kind of in a way.
But I think a lot of it's
Voyeurism.
also it's all like looking beneath, like looking through like
beneath the
okay.
veneer, yeah, kind of.
yeah, but I feel it's also to do with the whole deep focus, the wide angle, using that wide canvas. And I remember like there were moments where, uh, Helen Mirren just like pops up at the corner of a frame and like, people are
Yes.
talking inside their table about like in the servants' quarter essentially about like their lives. And then
That's exactly what I meant, right? They treat these servants as invisible suits of armor which are lying around in the manor, right?
Yeah.
Like they expect these servants to come at the beckon of their will and everything, but they don't care about how they live or what they exist.
Yeah.
It's like a machine below them in downstairs. It's like a self-perpetuating machine. They will
Yeah,
just
and like
appear out
the
of
sort of
nowhere.
conditions they would live in, right?
Yeah.
Like, master of the house bathes once every day, which is, I mean, a lot for an Englishman, presumably. But as a servant, you'd get like a bath a week.
Yeah.
Like you're not even given the benefit of hygiene.
Yeah.
While you're keeping up their standards.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, blue-blooded Englishmen can't piss without somebody holding them.
The opening only with Maggie Smith's character is the car needing to be stopped so that
because
Kelly
she can't
McDonald
open
can
the
Thomas,
So I mean a lot of, but I feel none of these I think nowadays, and I'm presuming I've not seen it, but you guys have, something like Murder Mubarak, it hits it like it's a lot of lowball humor actually when it comes to all this.
Very, very, very.
Like it's like almost
lowball and more often than not, it's like one of the bigger criticisms of movies like Murder Mubarak and to a certain extent even Glass Onion and Knives Out.
I was about to say,
it's the fact that they intentionally don't go too much into the depth of it all. And even if they go into the depth, they don't go into the depth of societal criticism. They just go into the depth of character progression somewhat.
I mean,
Altman more often than not, Altman is okay with giving you a large ensemble and giving you character snippets. Altman is also not interested in too much character depth. Jitna ho sake utna hi kafi hai. He's very much interested
he gives
in
it enough.
critique.
I feel they
feel like fully formed characters.
Yeah, they don't fully caricature.
We are like, if there's a 100-page screenplay, there'll probably be 200 pages of character information for each actor.
For all of them.
Yeah.
Like they are not, but like I feel one of my favorite bits of Knives Out remains sort of the first one is the face, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, because the script gives her that relationship with the father.
Both of them, with John Johnson and with Christopher Plummer.
Yes. And you have this whole side angle going of this mystery these two guys used to play to reveal, essentially the affair of her husband's that's taking place. And I feel like that is like a really...
And they use it with the whole thing of the elder child.
Yes.
Stuff like that. They draw it
so
out
I feel, so that sort of snuck into that film. But like here, I feel like one of the moments where I was just like, Jesus, that must just hurt like anything is the moment with, I'm just searching the name, is the Mabel Nesbitt character, where in the beginning where she's basically getting ready and she doesn't have a servant to assign to her, right? And she
doesn't have her own help.
Her own help, and that's why people look down upon her in that house. And then the husband, I think, is basically like get her ready so that she's like presentable, and then the camera
and then he goes off to
her.
snog his host's daughter.
But it's also like, but the camera
and the host daughter,
on
he's trying to reintroduce that affair again so that he can get money from her father, get a job from her father because he's broke. And I'm like,
he was a piece of work.
Very, very terrible sort of
hated his character
post the First World War, where a lot of people suddenly the workforce was like, oh, we can actually hire these people who've been forced to live in penury or in
Hmm,
like
hmm.
servitude nearly.
Yeah.
And then these guys were like, oh, now once the absolutely lower class had sort of occupied your basic blue collar jobs, your
Hmm.
middle classes who'd gone to school and maybe to university were
Hmm.
suddenly occupying your white collar jobs. And the
Yeah.
peers and the lords and the ladies had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's an excellent sort of way
But
to
and
bring that in.
and it's like their economy and their economic structure is changing, but their societal
Yeah.
structure isn't.
Has not changed
That
Hmm.
is
as
why,
well.
yeah, and that is why the perception becomes more important for them rather than anything
Right.
else.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's just it's perceptive in that sort of really, it's a sharply funny movie rather than that.
Yeah.
Like I love Knives Out, and I think Toni Collette is doing an amazing impression of that sort of really spoiled Gwyneth Paltrow essentially. So
Oh yeah, she plays Gwyneth Paltrow in a way,
yeah,
with
exactly.
the
Yeah,
weird
The
she
whole-
does. She
bollocks.
does. Yeah,
Yeah, she does. So I think it's super funny. It's super, like
Yeah.
I'll
broadly
tell you what
humorous.
it. I'll
But
tell you
it's
what
good
it is.
humor. See,
It's
the
good.
thing is,
I'll
even
tell
if
you,
it's
Gosford
broad,
Park is basically what Hemant told us a couple of episodes ago in with regards to say American fiction and everything else.
Yeah.
Gosford Park is British.
Yes.
Knives Out is American.
American. Yes.
Gosford Park's tonality itself is subdued. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
sharper. It's wordplay heavy.
but
somewhat.
I don't know whether I'd give Knives Out stick for being that.
No, I
No,
don't.
I'm not giving
no,
it
no.
stick. I'm just
I'll qualify that.
differentiating
Hold
the
on.
tonality.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The thing is that what the mistake we make with our films where we try to introduce humor into a situation
Hmm.
is not
Wink,
only is it
wink,
broad,
Monday
it's
discussion.
bad. Yeah,
Okay.
it's bad.
Okay.
So we're like, oh, as long as it's broad, it being bad jokes doesn't matter, but it does.
Yeah.
The joke has to
Yeah,
still land.
मतलब broad jokes मतलब ये नहीं कि pratfall हो ना. Broad
Yeah,
jokes
if I'm
मतलब ये
pulling
नहीं
my
कि
hair out rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
holding my stomach, that's a problem.
हाँ. सर
Broad
दोनों
jokes-
बट होल्डिंग योर स्टमक तो आप वैसे भी कर सकते हो अगर पेट खराब हो राइट
नहीं मतलब broad
सर आपकी स्थिति नहीं, आपकी तरह स्थिति नहीं होती perpetually.
3 साल
broad
रुको
jokes
मैंने
broad
घाट
jokes
घाट का पानी पिया है.
yeah broad jokes can be good bad
Good.
pratfalls
They need to be
bad
written
pratfalls but it can also be good pratfalls like a Buster Keaton pratfall. It's like it's
Yeah, yeah.
broad jokes जो भी
of
हो.
course
Yeah.
I know I'm invoking a legend here, but that's what it is,
no
Broad
a lot
jokes
of
can be good.
see I like a lot of Knives Out films have had criticisms on the basis of this, but I mean I've always found them very entertaining. Like I find
Yeah.
whatever Benoit Blanc is doing in general very fascinating
He's
and
basically
interesting.
Joe Bang's cousin.
I mean, he's a
Yes.
cartoon character, no? Like he's genuinely
He's
a cartoon
forgotten,
character.
like,
Joe
He's
Bang is so funny in that movie.
Yeah, Joe Bang is so funny in Soderbergh's movie.
Riley Keough is driving the car and he's about
Which
to
film
change
is this?
Logan.
It's a
Logan, Logan Lucky.
Never liked that, but I probably need to
What?
rewatch. हाँ,
So
rewatch
entertaining.
बोला है
Like,
ना? अरे
I
नहीं अच्छी लगी
love
थी
how
उस time.
he gets Adam Driver gets into an argument with someone over his arm.
Yes.
हाँ, but
just-
his humor is always much, I feel, drier than someone like Knives Out. I think Knives Out is going for that
Yeah.
laughing track बीच में पे चल रहा होगा that type of humor.
You could do
Yeah.
that and it would still work. But
Yeah, yeah.
fortunately,
Like,
cinema is not yet made that way.
Yeah, like Benoit Blanc.
they should
Benoit Blanc
never.
is basically made up. Benoit Blanc is basically like वो foghorn leghorn big rooster is basically a human form at that
Yeah.
point. That's how he's speaking.
Yeah.
And so it's very weird, but it's also what he's doing. Like he had been given the brief to go full on overboard by Johnson himself.
Yeah.
And here it's like again this is very interesting, like the similarity with Last of Sheila in this. There is no outside character who is the detective or the monolith here, and the detective who comes into Gosford Park is a person who doesn't care enough about the blue collar white collar people at all.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
just a job. A murder has
Yeah.
happened. I don't care about this rich elite fucks.
वो
So
purity, like he's not the audience conscious, like he doesn't, like in Knives Out, the Glass Onion especially, it's basically like, guys, wake up, these guys
Yeah.
are idiots, essentially, right? Like it's the whole.
I mean, to be fair, if I am Benoit Blanc and I'm trapped in an island with these idiots, I would also shout at them like, this is dumb.
No, I love that stuff still.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in these films, you get an angle which is much less, you don't have that moral.
Yeah, you don't have that.
Because even Kelly MacDonald's compromised in some senses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
But
she
then
needs to be.
The British are like that, right? They just,
Yeah.
their worldview is that everything's fucked.
I mean, she needs to, for her character, so you definitely need to, she
Yeah.
needs to be in that position to survive. Otherwise, she'll be booted off like Emily Watson's character.
This is what
Correct.
happens. This is what happens when an entire race and an entire generation of people have conquered everything else, and that is why they have got the freedom now to say that everything is fucked. This is
Yeah.
like cynicism after having
No,
achieved,
but
after having
British
acquired
cynicism
everything.
is very much a post World War II phenomenon in that sense.
Yeah.
So it's more Fellows' cynicism coming in
Yeah.
than a product of that time of the 30s.
Like
Yeah.
Fellows'
That time they
cynicism
were
also.
still like Empire is great, a lion on top of the globe type situation.
But there is this whole line in the film also, right, where it's like the empire has fallen after the war. Or
I mean,
whatever
they
it is.
felt it was diminishing because they had not kept up with the world. But
Yeah.
the empire was only truly finished by the Second World War. And then when India got independence, it was basically, oh, you can't hold on to your largest asset.
India getting independence is more like that is the coda.
Yeah.
By 45, the empire is
For
already
that, you
over.
can watch what's that film by
Godfather
Michael
3.
Powell? No, Michael Powell and Pressburger. The really controversial film which a lot of people
Black
criticize.
Narcissus.
Black Narcissus, yes.
Yeah.
It's
Which
got a
basically
beautiful color restoration.
Yeah, which I like, but that movie is
Technicolor.
very. Which
No, I
like, but
feel.
that movie is
But I
very-
mean, again, we will sometimes discuss Powell and
The
Pressburger.
Archers,
They are phenomenal filmmakers.
They are so good. Oh man.
And they are actually prime inspirations for everyone's
Scorsese.
favorite Dadu. Yeah. So, yeah.
Sanjeev's Dadu, I'm sorry.
No, but
Because
everyone loves him. Even I love
every
him. Yeah.
cinephile's Dadu at this point.
Yeah.
Chalo.
Yeah.
Sanjeev is the first person who used that word for
Yeah, I know.
Martin Scorsese.
But hey, no, that's true. It's correct. Sanjeev is right.
He's a person, unlike Tarantino, whose cinephilia feels very much like, let me overwhelm you with this information. Martin Scorsese is like, let me share this joy with you.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese is more like, yeah, I know stuff, but do you want to know? Do you want to know what I know?
He's a
Come to me
civil
and listen.
university lecturer.
Yes.
Comparatively, he's to Quentin Tarantino is a cinephile who belongs in a.
Quentin Tarantino isn't
a
a
Radio
quote
Shack?
unquote. Quentin Tarantino
Yeah.
isn't a quote unquote cinephile. Quentin Tarantino is a guy who thinks of
Geek.
himself as a film critic. He isn't.
Okay.
Let me elaborate.
He is
okay. I knew this is going
while
to
he
come.
is bulky, he wants to be Raja Sen.
Yes. मतलब उसका सिनेमा स्पेकुलेशन बुक ऐसा ही है.
Right.
If you read his book,
you've
you will
read,
feel that
yeah.
only.
I mean, I thought you were gonna give the Robert Altman mention.
Yeah,
here.
that too I was going to come
McCabe
anyway.
and Mrs. Miller, right? Is the one he hammered.
McCabe and Mrs. Miller. And I'm like, you are so high. You are so high. You are so petty. You are a
Picture
petty
देखी तो है.
You are a petty narcissistic bullhorn who thinks that you are the only one who understands westerns. You know?
It's okay.
Just
I mean, he's adopted a lot of westerns in his films, like at least aesthetically and in plot.
he's not even
wise
adopted a
of-
lot of westerns. He takes Ennio Morricone scores and basically steals them and puts them in his movies. So
This shall not become a Quentin Tarantino bashing session. I am
I'm
editing
not-
it, so this will get released. Otherwise, if someone else was releasing it, it won't have. So yeah.
I'm
But that's
glad
'cause
that my
I'm-
berating also becomes like a Varun bashing session. Good for you.
Nahi,
So the
but,
number of times that call had dropped, I really need to find sinking places.
nahi, but any other thoughts on Gosford Park and just in general?
People should make more of these movies. Like
I think one
yeah.
of the criticisms I had about Gosford Park
Yes.
was one of the shooting sequences, of the shooting.
that is-
inconsequential
Of game.
tha wo.
The shooting of game.
That is a total reference. Like that's not even like
Yeah. That
it
is
is
complete
ripped off.
reference. Complete ripped off. Yeah.
Yeah, from Rules of the Game. Because that I remember, I need to rewatch Rules of the Game, but I think the gunshot stuff is so like it almost goes on for 5 minutes in that movie also, and it's almost oppressive in that film. And I feel in this it's much played at a lower.
Dhruv, you should be used to gunshots. You lived in America. National pastime.
He lived in America in New York.
That-
He didn't live in middle America, nah.
Yes.
Or in Texas.
Or in Texas.
Exactly. Even though my favorite filmmaker might be from there, that doesn't mean that I
Sir,
endorse.
sir.
Approaching the line plays.
Yes.
But
Sir, वो anomaly है, वो anomaly है.
even
It's
Richard
not that-
Linklater's from there. So
वो भी anomaly है.
उसकी नई
सब
पिक्चर आ रही है,
anomaly
but
है.
Hitman. So
Hitman
you can,
on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Written by
But-
Linklater and Glenn Powell of all people.
Varun ka next favorite actor.
Not
Anyone
really.
but-
He's interesting. I feel like if you are a film star today, and you manage to retain some mystique or some charisma about you. उसने अपना
हाँ.
mystique बिगाड़ दिया by publicizing a likely affair with Sydney Sweeney. And like, तू career बना ना भाई पहले बिगाड़ने से पहले.
You know, if you want to create a career, at least try to change your smile. When you smile, you look like a badger. Don't do that.
Guys, anything good
Wait,
to say
please.
about
Yeah, I mean,
Gosford
I
Park?
do have not exactly Gosford Park, but I feel like the Brits do a lot of this very interesting stuff. So I have a recommendation, which is a
Oh,
show
go ahead.
called Foyle's War.
Yes. I
20
have
plus
seen that show.
feature-length
Yes.
episodes.
Okay.
Exceptional
Exceptional
stuff.
show. Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
I mean, a lot of people are fans
Tremendous.
of, I don't know, In the Loop won't qualify as this, but a lot of Armando Iannucci fans are fans of Death of Stalin. Maybe that sort of floats your
No,
boat.
not really. This,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
like Death of Stalin a lot, but it's not in the same
sure.
space.
More political thriller, but I was thinking more in the idea of just being set in a
Period.
No,
slightly.
I feel like, I mean, 50s Russia and 30s England are very, very far apart.
No, but you have the broad, not broad, but like you have
Iannucci goes full
critiquing.
nuts on that. Okay, there's
That's
no
true.
broad critique.
He's closer to farce, I feel, more so than yeah.
No, I think
Which is why he translated so well to Veep, na? Because his farce was anyway like total, complete, over the top in the loop, and like
I
Veep
think
is like just an extension.
I'm slightly less receptive to outright farce as opposed to I think this is more darkly comic. Both these actually, Last of Sheila
Ismar
and
Khan
Gosford
fan
Park.
is talking about this.
Sir, exceptions are there, no? No, but I mean, I think something like your
I mean,
Armando Iannucci.
Last of Sheila is very darkly comic because it's like winking to your face and telling you that look, this is how Hollywood is. They don't care about you. Stop loving them. That's what Last of Sheila is basically telling you.
No, I think I'm also referring to some like the sense of humor of someone like Martin McDonough or I think Cohen's. Where you get Cohen's or have done absurdist fast to the infinity, whatever.
This is more
you have gone
McDonough.
up to.
McDonough, I think, is more of a, how do I put this? Much more of that school of thought. Somewhat.
Yeah, but I doubt McDonough would appreciate being mentioned in the same vein as a film about British lords and ladies.
Oh, yeah,
coming as he does from Ireland.
He won't. He definitely
There's the whole Scottish angle to this also, right? I think because Kelly MacDonald and the whole actor doing that accent.
Yeah.
Which gives him off.
She's like, I could have told you that if you had just asked me. I'm like, yeah.
I did not think it was required for a woman to venture a guess.
Yeah, but I also really liked, now I'm thinking about it. I mean, the whole build up to the murder is there, but even just the whole idea of all of them dancing secretly to the Ivan Novello songs.
Yeah.
Just having their like private moment. And then I think there's the whole rivalry between Helen Mirren's character and her sister, which is revealed to be
Eileen Atkins,
Eileen Atkins, and their whole again. I'm very curious to rewatch this movie actually more than anything else because it's such a filled with so many characters. I did almost feel lost at some point a little bit. So
you'll even like Fellows' Downton Abbey. You'll enjoy it.
Time nahi hai, sir. Sorry.
क्या time नहीं है?
As in like invest करने का time नहीं है.
Tottenham का match देखना बंद करो.
अभी नहीं, like investment in the whole show isn't there because it's freaking long. Like in that sense, like.
I mean, I binged it because I wasn't going to college in my first year, but that was also. I watched it in the monsoon.
हमारा वो era
हम बुड्ढे हैं ना sir.
हम बुड्ढे हैं.
Dhruv went to college like 1 or 2 years ahead of me probably.
तो हम बुड्ढे हो गए ना आपके लिए.
Not really.
मैं बुड्ढा हूँ sir.
Amartya is the OG. He's like Valmiki compared to the rest.
Yes, exactly. I'm like owning this now at this point.
I was but
Amartya was there when Noah was filling the ark.
उतना भी नहीं हूँ.
And telling what's his face? Darren Aronofsky, camera band kar, flood aa raha hai.
Have you seen Noah or no?
No.
I'm curious to watch it considering
Biblical
I consider
epics are not my thing.
No, biblical epics by Darren Aronofsky means that they are nutty.
That movie is nutty as hell.
I planned to go and watch Mother, but that plan never materialized.
जाके देखो sir, 4 बार देखी है मैंने. It's fun. Anyways, I mean, I've always considered myself an Aronofsky fan up until freaking The Whale, which was a pile of trash.
I need to watch Pie and Requiem.
Pie is supposed to be very good. Requiem for a Dream, I don't know if I like it now, but it's one of those train spotting ka bhai, sort of.
देखी
Yes,
नहीं है तो
basically.
cinema
Basic.
studies बाकी है.
Hmm.
That kind of thing.
More or less,
Fine.
kind of that only. Yeah.
Essential
trains.
viewing.
It's a trains. No, but it's a train spotting.
Sibling, basically. Yeah.
And it's crueler than train spotting,
Hmm.
whatever that means.
Aronofsky and Cruel. Oh my God, say it ends.
I mean, he is cinema. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think this is
He's
we've
just
deviated a lot.
He's just
Sure.
2 degrees removed from Lars von Trier at this point. It's like
That is true.
Yeah.
Though Lars von Trier suffers from chronic depression and now from
Hmm.
what does he? He has a memory issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him
Anyways,
and-
now
him and Bruce
That is why
Willis.
Kingdom ka last season it took him so long to make, and even then.
I think that's his final
Yeah,
project.
today
That is
I
final
think a
project, yeah.
producer also passed away of like early onset.
Yeah.
dementia. Sam Mercer died today.
Dementia, I think he's been diagnosed of, if
Hmm.
I'm not wrong. Anyways, like we will someday I will find people who like Lars von Trier like me and we will discuss his work.
Hey, I like him somewhat.
हाँ ठीक है मैं somewhat नहीं बात कर रहा ना
I
सर मैं
have
तो full to
I have a feeling there's people who like him, but more because he does sexually explicit stuff than anything else. I'm like, you reduced a filmmaker to just merely
I
a
mean
pornographer.
he is a provocateur in that sense also, so
Yeah,
you can
they're not interested in the provocateur part
He's
of it.
an
They're
actual
interested in the
provocator.
pornographer
Unlike
part
people,
of it.
unlike the
Yes.
provocator people talk about nowadays.
yes now we need
Oh,
yeah no but it's true that comparison
is
I
true.
think
Amartya is going there again.
No, but
I'm
that's
not. Don't
I
push
would
me
have-
and I won't.
I
Don't
would
push
have
me and
I would
won't.
have the Von Trier provocation any day because I think
Hmm.
I but again I think there's genuinely very troubling human instincts driving some of them, and I feel he's aware of some of them and he flags them up quite well
Right.
actually. So that's another discussion for another.
Like the house that Jack built is literal autofiction, not like garbage autofiction like
Yeah,
Killer
yeah.
was.
I don't even read
God.
Killer as autofiction, but that's like
No, but no, like, house that Jack built is very like
That is autofiction.
it's
Sorry,
no,
but
almost unashamedly so, and it's
Yes.
almost like it feels very much like a bye-bye to the world in a very dark sense. Like it's
दुनिया
like
में जा रहे हैं मम्मी में आ रहा है Ali from Doom.
we have gone from Last of Sheila, Gosford Park, Knives Out, Glass Onion, Strangers on a Train, Lars von Trier, and now we have gone to where?
Doom.
Doom.
1,
Yes.
2, 3, 4.
I
Which
think
one?
it is
3,
enough.
sorry.
I think we should end now.
हाँ,
बहुत
Vijay
हो गया.
Krishna Acharya की जय.
No,
खत्म.
Sanjay Gadvi ki jai. That was his film.
अच्छा.
Yes.
No, I was thinking एक
Rest
Doom
in
3 का
peace.
dialogue.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
The one stylized director of Bollywood who actually deserved more.
Mukul S. Anand also, sir. In his
जो भी
time.
Yeah.
सर आप विजय कृष्णा आचार्य को भूल रहे हो.
नहीं भूल रहे हैं सर.
Style कहाँ है?
स्टाइल का है.
टोपी नहीं देखी थी.
टकले के अलावा
डायरेक्शन
कहाँ
का
है?
है. डायरेक्शन का है.
टोपी नहीं देखी थी प्रेस्टीज वाली धूम 3 में.
टोपी भी चुरा ली यार, क्या कमाल का बंदा है वो.
टोपी चुरा के टोपी पहनाना सर वही तो धंधा है वायरएफ का. Anyways, I think we've deviated a lot. So to the 5 people who've listened to this and stuck around, as we talked less about murder mysteries but more about topi pehnana from the likes
More about
of
Basically, we did a
murders
topi penana to
we
all
would
you
like to
people
commit.
because you thought we were going to talk about murder mysteries.
No, but I think we did talk about murder mysteries. But
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about something like Gosford Park is that it does not use that as the central. That's not the thing, right?
Yeah, that is like an afterthought almost.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel that's how. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't require every film to, live and die by that. We'll put the
Premise.
thematics over the whodunit element. I feel there's genuine value to something like Last of Sheila, which spends a lot of times on constructing the game mechanics of its mystery. I am again uncertain how this will translate to in our Monday episode because I have still not seen that movie. But the
Mubarak
impressions I have. Sorry.
मुबारक हो.
दिमाग
इसी
का
बात-
मर्डर मुबारक होगा.
But I feel I've listened to good things from Amartya and our mutual friend Ahindrla a little bit, and then we have also heard bad things about it from a predictably grumpy companion in Varun. So lots to discuss there and about murder mystery mechanics and whatever
I
else.
highly doubt how much is there to discuss about that movie, even though I like that movie.
Sir, we
I
have
must say.
live stream. No, तो सही है, चलेगा. We can talk about Niyat because you like that. So Hindi maybe we can delve. We can talk about race We can talk about 36 Chinatown, which some stupid person here refused to watch because
I'm
they're
not
above
watching.
Abbas Mastan.
Yes, I am above Abbas Mastan. What the hell?
I did watch an Abbas Mastan movie today, basically.
Yes, which will also get mentioned on Monday. So we have lots to talk about. We have lots to
Badsha
talk.
any day, man, over anything else. Then
Badshah is very good.
it's great.
Yeah, Badsha
Uh,
is excellent.
on
I
that
had to bring
note,
that up.
on the Badshah note, I suppose because we also began by slagging off Shah Rukh Khan, right? So now we can be on the appreciation train.
Do we want to? I mean, did you
Do
see
we
his
want to?
new
That
ad?
is my question.
New what?
New ad.
No,
He
what is
looks
that?
so photoshopped in that.
तो
The man
उसकी
is
थोड़ी
in
ना
a
गलती है.
he is desperately holding on to the last like millimeters of his youth that he's got left.
Oh, that's okay. But वो सब करते हैं.
आपने तो जल्दी बुढ़ापा embrace कर लिया. आप क्या बात कर रहे हो?
I was about to say Lapata youth, but that links to
And
Salman
apparently I have
Khan.
reached my prepubescent age, if some people are to be believed. But जो भी हो.
ठीक है.
कल स्कूल
चल.
मंडे को स्कूल जाकर आओ इस बार देखते हैं अगर अंदर जा पाओ तो.
Anyways, I think we are at this point resorting to the Murder Mubarak formula of extending the runtime just for the sake of it. So we shall not. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week. Is Crew releasing next? Varun?
No.
Next to next.
Next. Okay. So next
very
week,
very stupidly called a Good Friday release because Bollywood still doesn't know Good Friday is not a festival.
It's not a festival, yes.
चलो ठीक है. Next week फिर कुछ तो है.
Madgaon Express and Everton Mere Vatan.
नहीं, those we are not discussing. We
Everton
are discussing.
we are definitely not discussing. I'm sorry.
Madgaon भी नहीं कर रहे.
Riot.
You said trailer is not good, no?
Boring.
So live stream में, no, we are at least going to be discussing for show Atam, the Malayalam film, and Brahmayogam, right?
Yeah.
Which Amartya has seen, and I'm very curious to watch also. So
There are also one or two other Malayalam movies. I am really interested in making it a Malayalam episode itself, Malayalam movie episode itself, because
Malai Koti wale one you've seen also, which
yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
But it's like there
Yeah,
are
but
a couple of
that's our plan for the upcoming week, and I think I might be getting someone to do a Michael Haneke episode if anyone is because it's his birthday.
When is it? When is the episode? When is his birthday?
It's sometime on, like in the 25th or 26th. So sometime, like, the Crew week, we can do a podcast episode on Mr. Haneke, the 3 films of his. So we will delve deep into the torturous games of Mr. Haneke. But yes, until then, thank you so much for listening. Please suggest us more episodes in which we can talk about these comprehensive sort of topics about themes, your murder mysteries, filmmakers, like sort of films which are not directly related especially to what is coming out, because that we are going to cover for the most part on our live streams in any case. Like Crew, I think we've already decided. Next, if India gets Monkey Man, then hopefully that, but let's see.
Monkey Man will be delayed.
Monkey Man
purely...
India mein hoga release?
No, it might release, but it will have to be delayed because anything that tackles a religious/political problem during election is a problem.
Yeah.
You can't
release it during election. It will be stupid of you to release it in election. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see, but we have lots of episodes planned.
There's an Omen ka remake or sequel or spiritual.
70s का Exorcist अच्छा लगता नहीं है. Omen देखोगे.
Omen देखो.
Omen is worse.
अगर वो
Gregory Peck अगर 6 साल के बच्चे का बाप है ना उस पिक्चर में, तो मैं भी प्राइम मिनिस्टर बन जाऊं.
अगर हम किसी भी हॉरर पिक्चर पे करेंगे एपिसोड तो वरुण को जरूर नहीं बुलाएंगे.
You have to call one person who will raise a stink about something.
But you don't like any horror movie, तो क्या करूं उसको?
I do actually like Get Out.
That's not a horror movie, but okay. That's a social satire.
He likes elevated
horror. No, but he doesn't like Ari Aster movies also. So
I've only watched
Boy is Afraid is not elevated horror.
वो horror नहीं है. So you don't like Hereditary, no?
I didn't like it. I mean, if I sit and watch it again, I'll maybe
not like it again. अच्छा ठीक है. Anyways, it's okay. Again, thank you.
Makadi forever, man.
हाँ Vishal Bhardwaj की जय. Thank you. Bye.
बंद करो